afternoon, and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. So good to be with you. A fine Balls McWednesday to you and yours. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. Where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do miss something, remember this, all 3 hours posted, both upon iTunes or upon the conclusion of the show in iTunes and also our audio vault. Yeah, there you go. It's just in such a hurry to get all that stuff in. I want to talk. I'm ready to go. JCS at 979ESPNradio.com. The email address. Fire away with your emails. Thanks. Read them all. Don't get back to many of you, but I do appreciate those emails. The input is not ignored, and sometimes even leads to good fodder for the program. On Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow, the WTSM app for your mobile devices. We're also on YouTube if you want to watch the show. Thanks to those who do. There are even some bars in town that have us on their TVs right now. That's a pretty cool thing. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate you. If you're out riding around, working your ass off in this heat and rain and everything else, and you listen to us for a little relief, I really do appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I sometimes there have been days, where we have headlines in the can, Tom, because we do headlines in the morning. And so you and I will do the live portion of the show, and then I'll get in the car and I'll run a couple errands before going home. And so that little 5 to 7 window, and I'll go in somewhere and somebody's got it on. It warms the heart, makes me smile, and I really do appreciate it. It's a humbling and cool thing.
Man, I've got it on. I like driving around on Tuesdays from 5 to 7 because the way it works these days.
It's really the only time we get.
Matthew helps cut the show. He does a lot of the legwork that I used to do. But after you guys wrap with headlines, you have to tell me if there's anything we need to bleep.
Yeah, perhaps there's some curse words or some things that were said or sensitive subject matter.
Right, and unlike the summer, we're getting to a point of the year where I don't have time to listen to the show before it airs. I like doing that if I have the time to, but most of the time I do not. So when I get in the car on a Tuesday
it's important.
and I'm driving around, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm getting some headlines here. Let's hear what these guys have to say.
Soon we'll be saying even more, just as this show will, because there will be games. You do realize, my friends, as we start this edition of the Jeff Cameron Show, this Balls McWednesday edition of the program, it is the last before the return of Redemption Thursday. I'll educate my new listeners on what Redemption Thursday is tomorrow on the program. That's exciting stuff because it's charitable. And it really combines two things I like. The ability, because of the cool job that I have, to maybe help out, reach out in the community and get some folks to step up, because they're always more than willing to do so. People are, for the most part, good. Doesn't always feel that way if you pay attention to social media, but it's true. If you get off that stuff, you find most folks are pretty genuinely kind-hearted. They want to see their fellow man do well. So we ask you to bet non-perishable food items, and we have some fun with the betting aspect. So two things I really love: to gamble and to help out where we can in the community. So that's what Redemption Thursday is all about.
And it really feels like the week is going downhill towards the game of the week. This one happens to be the one that everybody's been talking about in the college football world. But when we get those Redemption Thursday picks, I know, all right, buddy, it's on. The weekend is upon us.
Those first few picks are tough. Those first 2 weeks really are the toughest because, again, you don't really know. We think we know. We certainly have a means of identifying certain people and their coaching strategy, schematically what they like to do. But from a personnel standpoint and a team personality standpoint, you don't really know. That changes year to year. And you got to see, are they able to fill that spot at the left side? Are they able to, do they have a guy that's going to step in there and replace, an all-world running back like Dalvin Cook? That's with all different teams. And so we're really kind of scanning to learn a little something this first week of college football about all these guys so we can take advantage of Vegas. And so I can take advantage of my bookie and you.
Well, that's the important thing, taking advantage while you can. And,
damn right.
Here's your reminder. Well, I'll just use this, right here, this forum. Make your picks. We got our picks. We got several leagues that we got to make our picks in. So here you go, buddy. Everybody out there, if you've forgotten to make your picks, this is week 1. There's a Thursday deadline in most leagues. Let's go. Get your picks in.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, by the way, I just realized that I needed to also, while making my picks, make another pick here. And there you go. Look at that right here on the program. This is great radio.
Is that fantasy baseball?
That is fantasy baseball.
Oh, my God. What 4:10 p.m. matchup is there?
Well, it just occurred to me that the Wednesdays have a lot of these day baseball games, and I thought I might have a starter in the rotation that's about ready to take the hill, buddy. We can't have all that.
We were hoping to play Jimbo Fisher's Tuesday night press conference for you in this slot. Unfortunately, we can't do that for you.
No. Jimbo and the media are at odds right now. Not with me. Not with me. I'm in good standing. I don't have to worry about it. Maybe some people do, not this guy. We're all right.
You're the kid in the first row of the classroom. You don't know what's going on behind you. You don't care.
I don't care.
You're going to exempt your final exam.
What I care about is gleaning the information from the head coach after this tilt on Saturday night. If it goes well, obviously we can't wait to hear from him because I want to get insights into what went into the game plan, what he liked after he saw the film. Again, if you're new to the show, in years past, for 10 years running now, I've had Jimbo Fisher on the program. I talked to him after he's had a chance to both cool down and also to look clinically, at the game film, the all 22s, if you will, and then he comes on and we do about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the mood he's in and how much time he has. We do that Sunday evenings, and we run it for you on Mondays twice, once in the 3 o'clock, once in the 5 o'clock hour. I really look forward to doing that again. I've learned a lot from him over the years and learned, the strong traits, the things that I think are invaluable for a head coach to have and things that, things that I wish he did different. I mean, that's everybody. That's your talk show host, your writers. That's anybody in any field, teachers, you name it. But by and large, I think the thing I always look forward to is that there are questions that you ask based on, especially if you're watching a game on television. Now, I'll be at this game. I'll be up in Atlanta. Just, by the way, kind of looking ahead here, Brad Edwards, college football writer for ESPN.com, is going to join us on the program this afternoon in the 4 o'clock hour. We look forward to talking to Brad Edwards every year, usually a long-form discussion of football as a whole, college football as a whole. So he'll join us in the 4 o'clock hour. But on Friday, I will be traveling. We will have content for you. We will have fresh content for you. Some of that will be interviews, maybe even a rehashing of the Brad Edwards interview, amongst others. But some of it will be new material, things we wanted to talk about that we would have been talking about had I stayed in studio and not traveled to the game. But I do have to get there, and I'm not flying. I didn't use that bullet, Tom. I decided that I would be needing the company dollars down the line to cover some other games and some other events. So I just decided to drive.
Maybe the
gotta pick your battles. It's a short jaunt.
You're saving for that LA fund. That's what you're doing.
I'm saving for the LA fund. I'm saving for any other big game that I really don't feel like driving to that's of a greater distance. So that said, I decided to just go ahead and hop in the vehicle. I'll get right with my music, my podcast, Tom, and then I'll arrive in Atlanta, and I will go to my brother's house and see that beautiful family of his, and then I will get to where we can go over to the stadium and do the pregame show. You'll be here, hunkered down in the studio, and I will lock in, and we'll do that show live from Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Should be a great time.
I'll be filing away, but the one thing I'll miss, and I won't miss it at all in truth, is the Atlanta traffic. On a 3-day weekend, they're going to cut out of work early on Friday, so the roads are going to be jammed, and they're going to be invaded.
Are you trying to depress me? Is that what you're trying to do here?
No, because listen, you're going to have the game. You're going to have the energy.
Oh, that's what I get. That's my great reward for putting up with Atlanta traffic.
Exactly.
You get the game, Jeff. I, too, will see the game from the comfort of my own home, Jeff, but you'll have the game there, the real experience. It is true, I will be inside the all-new $1.2 billion Mercedes-Benz Stadium and have a vantage point you will not have.
What was that saying for McDoke? It was like Doke HD or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, well, you get the HD, the true HD experience. You get to feel the
energies.
energies.
Well, I will get to feel the energies, and I imagine that they will be bountiful come Saturday night at 8 o'clock. I am intrigued to see how these two fan bases interact with one another. Not true rivals at all, but both on the higher end of the college football world, both with very high expectations for what this season should be. Obviously, Alabama fans at this point have grown accustomed to feeling that way each and every year. For those of us at Florida State, the idea is that this is a team, first of all, experienced enough, talented enough, and deep enough to make a run at the college football playoff as well. So, yeah.
You got to live in the now. You can't be looking forward. And that's the hard part about this game is you always want to look forward and you want to basically be at the moment of kickoff and let's just get it on. But I'm really excited of Saturday's pregame show when I patch through and I talk to you on Saturday what your confidence level is because it's just I feel like it's going to keep swinging in the positive direction. But we'll see. I'm excited to see how you sound on Saturday.
Yeah, listen, I'm more positive than I was maybe a week ago where I predicted Florida State to lose quite handily. But I did last night. We did the Man Cave show together. over at the Seventh Hill Tap Room, and I'm looking forward, buddy, to working with you all year long on that.
That was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun. But we did that, and then I did the Word Chant Report, and I've done some other things. Some headlines, obviously, this show every day. Been a guest on other shows. It's that time where we're just talking nonstop about this game, and at no point on any of those shows have I changed my mind about who I think is going to win the game. I still am leaning towards Alabama winning the game. Now, I don't want them to. I mean, just because I'm giving you my honest prediction, and you could disagree with it and be angry about it if you'd like to. I mean, that's kind of silly in my mind. But if that's the way you feel, that's great. I would love, and I will say it again, I really hope to come on these airwaves on Monday and offer up a falling on the sword, hey, man, I blew it. I screwed up. I underestimated just how good this team is, or I overestimated how good Alabama is, one or the other, or maybe a little mixture of both. That'd be great. I'd love to come on here and say, man, I'm wrong. Florida State is primed and ready to make a run at another national championship, and that game proves it. And let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's talk about what has to happen from here. That'd be great. I am fascinated by several factors in this game, because there are the unknowns, and we won't know until they kick it off. We could speculate. There's some things we could talk about and maybe make an educated guess about. But you're right. There are some things that until they kick it off, until we see the two teams line up across from one another, and we can kind of judge the matchups physically and otherwise on the field in the moment. At this point, you're just kind of beating a dead horse. We've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, last night it was a fun discussion we had after the Man Cave, because it was pick segment time, and I even said while we were doing the picks, it's hard when a room full of Noles to not pick the Noles. It's just, so I did. And about a half an hour after the show was over, you asked me, so do you really think? do you really, honestly?
Did you just play the game, or do you really believe it? Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I wouldn't be stunned either way. I think the fact that I don't know whether or not Florida State's going to win is a good thing. There are a lot of times where you go, I don't know about this one. But it's not that. It's, I don't know, maybe. Maybe they could. We really don't know what, this regular season's going to hold for Alabama or Florida State. If it's 11-1, 12-0, 10-2, 9-3, perish the thought. But honestly, it just wouldn't stun me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Florida State wins. It wouldn't surprise me if Florida State wins by 10 points. It wouldn't surprise me if Alabama won by 10 points. It's just that I think they're every bit as capable of winning this football game, given where it is on the schedule and what we have frontline talent-wise. I
do too.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it to happen, but sure, I do too. I think they are capable. Absolutely they are. I would be very surprised if Florida State blew out Alabama because or beat them handily. That would be the one result that I'd be very surprised by.
Oh, well, if it's, you 34-10 or something like that?
Well, no, listen, like when we do the whole thing about percentages, what's more likely, and you give the various scenarios. There are scenarios where I think a lot of Florida State fans, even those picking the Noles and are kind of devoid of just their heartstrings, there are plenty of people, I think, who, if they're being honest with themselves, see a scenario by which Florida State loses big.
That's much more likely than Alabama losing big.
Well, and that's true, not just because, we have great respect for what Alabama's done, but if you look at the track record of Alabama in the losses that Nick Saban has suffered at Alabama, outside the first year where that team was so bad and, I think lost 6 games, they don't lose games by more than a score. It's not an opinion. They don't. They don't. There are occasions where you go, oh, wow, that was shocking. But it is few and far between and very, very rare. That would be shocking. That would shock me. That's the one result that would shock me, if Florida State blew Alabama out.
If it's an ass-kicking, yes. If it's one of those like you were talking about last week the other way, if it's Florida State's up and then they pull away late and it's, it reads at 34-20 or something like that, again, I'm not stunned by that. But if it's they control the game, start to finish, something closer to the Clemson 2013 game than, a competitive contest, oh, God. That would be truly amazing, stunning. Business in this town would go crazy. It would be fantastic.
Just can't see a scenario by which that occurs. Can't.
Yeah.
I don't. No, not going to happen.
They'd have to turn it over 5 times like they did against Ole Miss.
Wouldn't that be something? I mean, yeah, I might dance naked out of the all-new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that would really be frowned upon by those in the media. The collective media would probably,
I got your Benz right over here.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford. The place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Dead, or ones that may need trimming or even removal.
Little street service, we go out on land for you.
Give us a call at 894-TREE.
Wonder what the outrageously energizing experience of Mountain Dew Kickstart is like? Well, it's like a combo of 3 awesome things. Dew, juice, and caffeine, rebooting your entire personal operating system.
Mountain Dew Kickstart is in position for consumption. All systems cleared for launch. Initiate launch sequence. T-minus 3, 2, 1, mark. Release the Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mountain Dew Kickstart released. Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now.
Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful.
You are now off the couch and out exploring the world. Roger that.
Get charged up for what's coming next anytime, anywhere with Mountain Dew Kickstart. Available in 10 energizing flavors like mango lime, raspberry citrus, midnight grape, and orange citrus. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Fuel with flavor.
RCD Shell knows how to keep you cool and refreshed. All 20-ounce Pepsi and Mountain Dew products are 2 for $2.22. That's right, 2 for $2.22. And 28-ounce Gatorade is buy one, get one free. It's more fun with Pepsi and Dew, so bring on the bubbles with these cool prices at RCD Shell.
The big game is almost here, but you can't afford to go because ticket prices are through the roof. Don't worry, we got your back. Anytix.com offers you the lowest price tickets, guaranteed. Anytix.com doesn't mark up tickets. Anytix.com has zero. That's right, no buyer, seller, or service fees. For a small monthly fee of $9.99, you get access to all their wholesale tickets. Go to Anytix.com today. That's Anytix, T-I-X-X. Enter the coupon code ESPN Tally and get 20% off your subscription. Anytix.com, changing the way you buy tickets.
O'Reilly. It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get 5 quarts of Castrol high-mileage motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for the price of conventional, just $24.99. Plus, earn double points on this purchase during O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you like video games, live music, dancing, and having fun with your friends? Swing by the new Fire Betty's, located in Midtown on Thomasville Road and 5th Avenue. Not only can you quench your thirst, but now Fire Betty's offers a new fun food menu as well. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., there's something fun going on every night. From trivia on Wednesdays to live music on Fridays, hospitality nights on Thursdays, and unique music video DJ Saturdays. Come take a trip down memory lane and make some new ones too. Happy hour at Fire Betty's is Tuesday through Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. And don't forget about out Sunday Fun Day with the NFL Red Zone liquid brunch and drink specials all day, starting at 3 p.m. For catering or private parties, message Fire Betty's on Facebook.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters Marina, your full-service marina, and presented by Hobbit American Grill, locally owned and operated since 1978.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sure, you woke this morning in celebration of a special anniversary. Sports fans around the country celebrated this moment, and if you don't and you didn't, well, you just hate women, and I want no part of it. But today is, of course, and I probably don't need to tell you guys this, the anniversary of the Comets becoming the first WNBA champion. That's right, that happened, and I know none of us will ever forget it. What a monumental step forward. The Comets became the first ever WNBA champions on August the 30th, 1997. That was the first season of the greatness that is the WNBA. And at the time, I thought there was no way. I remember, talking to friends at that time. Do you think they can knock off the Liberty? The Liberty seemed like a lock to me, but the Comets pulled it off, a thrilling 65-51 vanquishing in the inaugural championship round. So, special day. It's hard not to get choked up talking about it. Good for the Comets, 1997 WNBA champions.
Now, I remember being a 10-year-old and telling my dad, I don't need to see Haley's Comet if I can see these Comets hoist the trophy for the WNBA championship, because this is a sight that these eyes will never forget.
Yeah, it wasn't a very athletic sight, but it was a sight. And nonetheless, it was a championship that won't soon be forgotten. And I think, how we try, a lot of people like to engage in nostalgia, like to reminisce. And sometimes it's overblown. Not in this case. Not in this case, Tom.
He changed the channel before we could see what happened in the game. Really, we couldn't even
Probably
see.
First minute in.
Oh, didn't even watch the tip-off.
No.
They were about to tip it off.
So you didn't watch it?
No, he ended up putting on reruns of Bonanza, which was an awful television show.
But maybe more interesting than the WNBA championship has ever been.
I'll never know. I'll never know.
Yeah. So, nonetheless, special anniversary on this here day. A lot of people woke up this morning, smiles on their face, walked to their calendar, wrote it in. Anniversary. WNBA.
The big 2-0.
That is hard to believe, by the way, that 1997 was 20 years ago.
That was We Got Next.
I remember the campaign that ESPN ran, just shaming you for not loving the WNBA.
Well, apparently people don't like the NBA that much on a Wednesday or Thursday night either, because those ratings aren't exactly
aren't great.
No, they don't really stack up like, say, I don't know, Thursday night football, which we have tomorrow.
We do, and we also, in mere days, have the game. Jimbo Fisher updating us on the latest when he was asked today by ESPN's Andrea Edelson about Matthew Thomas.
He did not return to practice yet, but thought he would have by now, which we thought he would have had been there. But we'll see, and if he's ready to play, he'll play. As far as eligibility, he runs on his own, stays in conditioning from everything I hear. So as far as that, he knows our scheme inside and out. They practice his first week, so he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, he said today that it's iffy whether starting linebacker Matthew Thomas would be available for the opener. Listen, you're talking about the team's leading tackler a year ago. I've kind of downplayed the importance of Matthew Thomas, not for this game, but just in general. I don't think he's been a big-time player for Florida State. I don't think he's been the guy that we thought he would be as a recruit, 5 stars coming out of high school. Obviously his career has had its ups and downs in terms of just trying to get on the damn field. When he plays, and he plays at a high level, he is an impactful player. And I thought the second half of last season you saw some of that Going back to the Orange Bowl, obviously he was spectacular. Was it 15 tackles? He makes that play down around the goal line. That's the guy we thought we were getting all along. It does certainly hurt not to have him. You'd rather have him than not, no question. But I don't deem this. A lot of people talk about this as if Florida State's going to be missing their starting quarterback or something.
Yeah, we give Nate Andrews all the credit for being here since the 70s when Bowden took over the program. But, Matthew Thomas was on that team, too, in 2013, lest we forget. He was the one coming off the edge up at Boston College, either a forced fumble or a sack, I remember. But he was the edge rusher on the team as a true freshman. And then, the legend of the unicorn would begin.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, trips to Pasadena. Just don't put him in the bowl game. You can't fly him out to the bowl game because things happen. Tests are administered, and they're not passed. And a couple of years later, he's back. But it's just funny. Nate Andrews feels like he's been here forever. Matthew Thomas, not so much because he hasn't played all that much in his career here.
This is the source of much angst for Florida State fans and a clash, somewhat this source for the clash between the media and Jimbo Fisher, which I'll touch on later in the show. I think if he had to do it all over again, Coach Fisher would have never referenced Matthew Thomas being sick. That was a mistake. In my opinion, that was a mistake. And I think an unnecessary one, too, by the way. I think that I get it. It comes from a good place. I don't, it's not a nefarious thing necessarily.
You're just trying to buy time.
Yeah, but when you do that, though, certainly when things don't work out in the time frame that you thought they would, now you got to double back and you got to come up with something else. And it's not a good look. Not a good look, especially since, in the future, it's people will struggle to take you at your word anytime there's a question about eligibility with anybody or anything like that, and so that's frustrating.
Well, that's where if he comes back and says, "Well, you say it's all coach speak," well, it has happened. There are documented cases before Matthew Thomas and this situation ever arose that something like this has happened. So
yeah,
there is precedent.
Coaches have selective memory about that kind of stuff, though, and they get defensive about it. And there's a part of me that understands, especially because we talk about a lot of coaches. Most coaches tend to have sort of a savior complex. We know where that comes from and why that exists, and that's okay too. But the media does have a long memory, and when some would call it lie to them, and then they don't believe anything you say moving forward.
Yes, I hear you 100%. I can understand where he's coming from, though. He clearly thought it was going to take a day. It's taken 3 weeks to a month to get whatever this needs to be cleared up. And maybe it doesn't even get cleared up at that. But he clearly thought in the moment, that day, that this Matthew Thomas situation, whatever it is, would be resolved within 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, well, we're talking about an NCAA thing now. There's nothing more to it. I think it's got to be that. I mean, it seems to me that it's not a university thing now. It's an NCAA thing. I would imagine that he's done whatever he had to do. We had heard about correspondence courses. I don't know. I don't want to get into the details because I don't know him. But clearly there was something that he had to get done. And Jimbo felt like once he did that, he would be declared eligible once again. And it didn't happen, not as smoothly. He probably did do what he was supposed to do, and then the process by which he is cleared is taking much longer.
I think it's fair to say, I don't mean to speak for you, but I think most Noles fans sit in this corner. They don't expect Matthew Thomas is playing this weekend, and if he does, it's a bonus at this point, right?
I think Emmett Rice will play, and hopefully he plays well. He's a spirited guy, sideline to sideline, really fast. He'll hit you. He's undersized, but he'll really lay the lumber. It's funny. You think about the Vontaze the perfect play that just happened for Cincinnati, and the whole debate as to whether or not, there's a reason I'm bringing this up, whether or not that was a cheap shot. It was within the 5-yard chuck zone, and here's the deal. 2 inches lower, it's not a cheap shot. It's a guy who's not paying attention, doesn't have a head on the swivel, got blown up by a linebacker who's not afraid to hit you. And, they're not out there playing pity-pat. It's football. You're sending messages, and I'm fine with it. It's a great opportunity if you're a defender. If some dumbass rolls out of the backfield and didn't pay attention, you light him up. Problem is a little high. A little high, looks like it's to the head. That was the NFL's contention. Why do I bring that up? Emmett Rice, Nooney Murray, 5-yard chuck zone. Jimbo Fisher freaking out. We watched it and laughed our ass off. Why would you do that? Why? He thought Nooney was hurt because Emmett Rice did pull a Vontaze Burfict on Nooney Murray at practice in the scrimmage of the spring game, laid his ass out about a yard off the line of scrimmage because you can.
frankly, what I wonder, because it's all about eye discipline at that point. Does he understand his lanes? Does he understand, when he's got to get in there and stick his head to make a play, in the pile at the hole? Or is it the alternative in the second half when Trey Marshall is available in this game? Is Jimbo going to roll Trey Marshall at star? He's going to bring Derwin James into the box as well, play him at money, or vice versa, and then roll out another defensive back into the rotation. That way he can account for Matthew Thomas not being out on the field. I just wonder, is there one linebacker out there in the second half in short when Trey Marshall is available, or are there two, and is Emmett Rice one of those linebackers? All assuming Matthew Thomas is not playing on Saturday.
Really good thing that you have a player as versatile as Derwin James to help you make that decision, and to make that decision basically a little bit easier. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
And during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Get 0% financing for 72 months on select Fusion, Escape, Edge, and Explorer models. Plus, get $1,000 on top of your trade-in. Offer ends August 22nd. Best selling based on current year 2016 sales. Don't drive while distracted. Use voice-operated systems when possible. Don't use handheld devices while driving. Not all buyers qualify for Ford credit financing. 72 months at $1,389 per month per $1,000 finance regardless of down payment. Trade Assist Cash requires trade-in of 95 or newer vehicle or lease terminated 30 days prior to or 90 days after new retail delivery. See dealer or go to buyfordnow.com for complete details. Take delivery from dealer stock by August 22nd, 2017.
And now, a Sport Clips well-played moment.
Gentlemen, the mind of the human male is a peculiar thing. Every day we walk through a car wash of external stimuli, from the eyeballs to the ear holes, to exotic hot dog smells, to imported energy drinks. So does our mind wander? You bet it does. Wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that's why Sport Clips is Sport Clips. They make a haircut memorable, but with as little thought required from us as possible. A great MVP haircut experience with a hot steam towel, massaging shampoo, and sweet, sweet sports on TV. So if that man in the mirror looks like an island castaway, or just has some hair that needs attention, well, you've got this solved because you know Sport Clips. And if you're already looking Sport Clips handsome, well played, sir. Well played.
Sport Clips haircuts. Find a location near you at sportclips.com.
We have more cars than we had last year. You want to put some up here? Then we're going to need a crane again.
Yes, that was me, Chris Kraft, up on the roof of the dealership last week looking for a place to store our overflow inventory. But this year we have the perfect storm here at Kraft Nissan because while we have over 400 cars and trucks on the ground, it is also our model year closeout. And everyone knows that the best deals on new cars come when a dealer needs to move inventory. Combine that with model year end closeout incentives and you get the perfect storm of huge savings. And my managers are threatening to keep me up on the roof until we sell a bunch of cars and trucks. So make me a reasonable offer. I'll do whatever it takes to get myself off the roof. Like 0% 0% interest for 6 years on America's #1 selling SUV, the Nissan Rogue, and up to $5,300 in total savings on the red-hot Nissan Altima, or take up to $10,500 off MSRP on the Nissan Titan with America's best factory truck warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. And as always, our exclusive lifetime warranty. And they wonder why Tallahassee is a Nissan town, a Kraft Nissan town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Investing is a long-term process. How many times can you think of in the last decade that the stock market has destroyed retirement funds for people just like you and me? For your existing IRA, you need the security that gold has provided for centuries. Remember, gold has never been worth zero. Capital Gold would like to introduce you to the Home Storage Gold IRA. It's a self-directed IRA set up with all the protection and tax benefits of an LLC. But the big difference in this IRA is you invest in gold and you hold it in your possession. You can't do that with stocks. That's security. You can transfer any type of IRA hassle-free in days. Please call right now and learn more, and we'll waive the $500 setup fee and give you a free safe to store your gold. Call 800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. That's 800-515-6302.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. The Cowboys-Texans preseason game scheduled for tomorrow night has been canceled. The game was originally scheduled for Houston and then moved to Arlington in the aftermath of Harvey. Now, Texans players will be able to return to Houston to spend time with their families. Tomorrow's preseason game in New Orleans between the Saints and the Ravens will be played. The league had been talking about the possibility of canceling that game. ESPN's Kevin Seifert reports Johnny Manziel worked out last week for the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. They decided not to sign Manziel. Florida State coach Jimbo Fisher says it's iffy as to whether linebacker Matthew Thomas will be able to play against #1 Alabama on Saturday night. Thomas hasn't practiced yet in camp. He was the Seminoles' leading tackler a year ago.
It's time to start getting the absolute best sleep of your life. Check out Reverie and see why so many former Sleep Number and Tempur-Pedic owners are making the switch to a better night's sleep. Go to tryrev.com/ESPN. tryrev.com/ESPN.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
It's football week, and I know tomorrow begins a glorious journey with every Thursday night forward having football on for the next 4 months. But I do want to, I guess, look into this baseball story for half a second because it involves Albert Pujols and a question we asked a few years back. This is, I know, Tom, that you stopped watching baseball earlier this year, probably as soon as the Mets proved to you they had no shot of A, staying healthy, and B, being any good. This was long before the All-Star break.
Yeah, they were scoring runs in droves, but they
couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't pitch.
That's the most aggravating thing in sports, I think. In general, is if you don't have a good defense or pitching staff or goaltender in hockey or you know what I mean? If your defense sucks, it's hard to watch week in and week out. Remember 2009? Holy smokes.
Oh, I remember. Oh. I've said many times before that, you can struggle offensively, but if you play defense, you can beat anybody. But if you can't play defense, you can lose to anybody.
Yeah, just about anybody. And 2009, case in point, that was the Georgia Tech game where you punt once the entire night
the game, yeah.
and you lose the freaking game.
It's impossible. It's so frustrating. So anyhow, I say that to say this. Were you aware that in essence Albert Pujols is now the worst player in baseball? Did that? It probably. I mean, you had no real reason to pay attention to that.
Some candidates in Flushing, but sure, really, is it a war thing or what?
It's unbelievable. Neil Payne, I'm quoting from his article in 538. I knew Albert was, really struggling but I don't think I knew to the degree that he was struggling. To which he was struggling. Albert Pujols of the Los Angeles Angels is the most feared hitter of his generation, one of the greatest ever to step into a batter's box. He ranks 8th all-time in home runs, 7th in extra base hits, 10th in total bases. At his peak, he won 3 MVP awards, was also the best position player in baseball according to wins above replacement 3 times, 2006, 2008, 2009. Pujols' resume makes him a surefire first-ballot Hall of Famer. But this season, a new title can be assigned to Pujols. He's the worst player in all of baseball. Pujols has sucked. He did not write that. He wrote flat out stunk. He's hitting .230 with an on-base plus slugging, that would be OPS, which is 26% worse than the league average. Even in the age of ineffective designated hitters, Pujols has easily been the worst hitter at the position that provides the least defensive value, i.e. 0 value. As a result, no player has been less valuable than Pujols this year. He is minus 1.99 in WAR, which ranks dead-ass last amongst all players, including pitchers. Wow. If he finishes the season in last place, which seems quite possible, as L.A. continues to pencil him into the starting lineup day after day, despite his poor numbers, Pujols will become the first modern position player ever to be both baseball's best and worst players at various points in their career. The worst finish by a former number 1 player previously belonged to the delightfully named New York Yankees second baseman Snuffy Sternweiss. Snuffy Sternweiss. Snuffy was baseball's top position player in 1945 when many of the league's best, such as Ted Williams, Stan Musial, Joe DiMaggio, were serving in the military. But he was also the league's second worst player by 1950, a miserable season that saw him hit .216, get traded from the 98-win Yankees to the 58-win St. Louis Browns. And then you can go through and look at, from the penthouse to the outhouse seasons, there have been years in which a player was number 1, top 10. We've seen it from the likes of Mel Ott, Snuffy Sternweiss, Ken Griffey Sr., Jim Rice, even Derek Jeter, who went from number 1 in 99 to 42nd in 2013. But on down the list you go of guys that have gone from being absolutely not just great, but one of the best, if not the best player in the game. Lou Gehrig had it happen, but he had an excuse.
Well, yeah, the ultimate excuse.
That's a toughie. Ended up naming the disease after him. I mean, goodness. But you go through and look at this, it's crazy. But, yeah, here Albert Pujols tops the list currently.
It's crazy. You know, this tells you how much I've been watching baseball since, the Mets fell apart. I was going to say an offer, but I was pulling up the standings in case. Well, you know what? I'm sure the Angels aren't even in it, so it's just...
Well, they're a single game back of the Twins.
Okay, and the American League wildcard race is incredible. There are 8 teams within 6 games of one another, from the Yankees on down to the Tampa Bay Rays. So you got 8 teams within 6 games of each other. 7 of those teams are within 3.5 games of each other. So that AL wildcard race is going to be a mad dash over the next month.
And if you're nearly at -2 WAR and you are taking away a potential 2 wins for your club and you're 1 game out of a wildcard spot, hello?
That means you would be, yes.
You cost your team a chance to be in the playoffs. You specifically. Nobody else. You. And for more money than anybody else on the team. Yeah.
How about that AL wildcard race? How about that? That's cool.
It's fun. You can read the whole article. It gives a little bit more clarity. I'm just kind of taking surface level stats there. You can get in depth and see exactly what it is that's hurting Albert Pujols beyond just the pitiful stats offensively. But, man, I remember when he signed the contract, we said, well, not only diminishing returns and probably real soon, but how long would he be an upper echelon player before you had to begin to pay him on the back end of that deal insane sums of money to be a poor player, not this poor, but a poor player. And we kind of guesstimated, unfortunately for them, as they were going for it, he might only have 2 to 3 good years before he begins to level off and begins to slide. This happened very quickly. I mean, he went from really good, really, really good, not so good, maybe the worst WAR in all of baseball.
It's like a running back in the NFL.
It's just, man, toughie. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford. The place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
In the daily $7.99 lunch special.
97.9 ESPN Radio is proud to announce that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac High School Scholar Athlete of the Month is back. We'll announce the monthly winners beginning next Wednesday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and again during the Jeff Cameron Show from 3 to 6. Last year, 8 female and 8 male athletes won the monthly honors and were automatically qualified as a finalist for the Dale Earnhardt Jr. $2,500 year-end scholarship. Last year, Leon High's Anna K. Ford and Rickard's Taven Jackson took home the grand prizes. Since its inception 3 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac has given out over $20,000 in scholarship awards to high school athletes throughout the Big Bend. Beginning next week, you can check out all the Athlete of the Month winners by visiting our website, espntallahassee.com, and help support our friends at Dale Jr. Check them out on the corner of Capitol Circle Northeast and Miccosukee, or visit them online at Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac.com.
I'm Fred Conrad, and I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I believe your freedom is too important to trust to an inexperienced lawyer. For over 20 years, I've successfully defended those accused of DUI, drug offenses, and a host of other misdemeanor and felony offenses. My office is located in my hometown, and as a third-generation Tallahassee native, former local prosecutor, and law enforcement instructor, I have the skills and experience necessary to handle your case. When you call my office, you will talk to me, and I'll personally handle your case. So don't blow it. Call me at 222-4005 or go to fredconrad.com.
Switch to AT&T Prepaid and get 2 months of free service with no annual contract on AT&T's network. 2 months free, huh? You know, my wife wanted 2 months free, and then she jetted off to the Canary Islands and met some tennis pro named Sergio.
Kevin?
She doesn't even like canaries.
You want to stick to the script, please?
Right, sorry, Dan.
It's done.
Don. With AT&T Prepaid, you can watch all of your favorite shows with no annual contract. Wow. No annual contract? No commitment at all? Remind you of anyone, Don?
Maybe your wife?
Bingo.
Can we wrap this up, Kevin?
Oh, sorry, Doug. That's prepaid your way from AT&T.
Great. Thank you.
Sure beats whatever Sergio's offering.
Okay, that's it. I'm cutting to legal.
Limited time offer. Requires payment at activation. Taxes extra. Account must remain active on $45 or $65 plan and cannot lapse to get bill credit for 3rd and 12 months. Fees, coverage, and other restrictions apply. Details at att.com/prepaid.
It's O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get 5 quarts of Castrol high-mileage motor oil and a microguard filter for the price of conventional, just $24.99. Plus, earn double points on this purchase during O-Rewards Member Appreciation Month. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Show 97.9 ESPN Radio, and the circus starts early for University of Florida football fans everywhere. Man, that's a tough way to start the year, right? 2 more players suspended. Are we up to 10, Tom? We up to 10 now for this game against Michigan?
You destroyed the only thing I love.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they were going to beat Michigan either way. I also don't know if they're going to lose to Michigan, who lost a ton to graduation. But this has got to be very aggravating, as every freaking day you get up as a Gator fan, you learn about more players suspended. It was just a week or so ago that it was 7. It's crept up steadily. And now you've got Jordan Scarlett suspended for the opener against Michigan, and he's a good player. This is a problem. These aren't like slappies. These are good players.
They're not, Callaway is still the headliner, but let's say even if they were depth players, you can't lose 10 depth players. 10 people, 10. You only get 85 scholarships. Good Lord, man.
Well, go through the whole thing here. You get Jordan Scarlett. You get him suspended, and this is a day after he was telling reporters that he's ready to put, the whole game on his back. He's ready to carry Florida into battle, and then, oops.
Because our 3 quarterbacks can't.
That's right. Then you find out that he's suspended and that wide receiver Rick Wells has been suspended for team activities. They didn't announce an official reason. But these suspensions relate to a problem that happened several weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and that was the initial 7. Now they have 10 players suspended. Antonio Callaway, as you said, being the biggest one, but you have a defensive lineman, Kivionis Davis and Jordan Smith. You got a linebacker who's a freshman, so maybe they weren't going to use him all that much. May not be that big a deal. And Ventrell Miller, James Houston. You got an offensive lineman who's suspended as well. Kadeem Telfort, but he too was a freshman. So, again, maybe not a huge loss there. But James Robinson was suspended after being cited for marijuana possession last week. That was that bogus nonsense that the RA called in.
Exactly.
Well, it may not have been bogus, but it just seemed to be a bitch thing to do. And McElwain's not going to release a statement here. He is scheduled to speak with reporters this evening, so we'll see if he addresses it down in Gainesville. But, man, you got problems. That's Scarlett rushed for nearly 1,000 yards last year.
I know he didn't follow Urban Meyer, but it would be pretty funny to me if McElwain ends up getting run out of Gainesville because he lost control of the program, if they use that as the cop-out. Too many disciplinary issues, Jim. I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go here. We don't stand for that at the University of Florida.
I don't think that's going to happen because, I shouldn't say, I don't think it's going to happen. Some of these things aren't exactly egregious. We're not looking at violent crime here.
It would be down the line. But to me, it would be funny if that's a talking point. Even if it's a talking point this season, that people say, well, has McElwain lost control of the UF program?
Well, there is a headline that reads exactly that, and, of course, they're refuting that now, and I would too. I don't think that's been the issue for them. I will continue to say this about Florida's upcoming season, and obviously this doesn't bode well. You don't want to go into the season in a game that's an interesting game, a fun game. A lot of eyes going to be tuned into this thing. Arlington, Texas, Florida, Michigan, 2 huge programs. That have a lot of question marks surrounding them with this kind of turmoil and suspension. But, again, going back through this, in Gainesville is the Tennessee game. They always beat Kentucky, Northern Colorado before all of that. And, again, you've got Vandy, whom they'll beat. You play LSU in Gainesville. Texas A&M, you play in Gainesville. Georgia, they beat every year no matter where they play them, which is in Jacksonville, of course. Missouri, South Carolina, UAB. It's going to be hard for them to lose a lot of games. I mean, they ought to, by default, win 8. You're not going to get fired for that.
7-5 train. It's coming.
All right. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
This year's Kingfish Tournament is in the books. Although the weather wasn't the best, over 55 boaters registered for the tournament, and Sea Quarters Marina would like to thank everyone that came out. $50,000 was raised for leukemia research this year, which brings the total to $915,000 over 14 years. The winning kingfish, caught by Team Bill Collector, weighed 47 pounds, and the winning Spanish mackerel, caught by Team Neil Brooks Electric, weighed 5 pounds. Additionally, fishermen donated approximately 1,000 pounds, which will be sold to raise funds for leukemia research. Sea Quarters Marina hopes to see you at the 2018 Kingfish Tournament.
Hey folks, Ron Vitrano here with great news for North Florida and South Georgia used car, truck, and SUV buyers. Car Gurus has named its top-rated used car dealer for 2017, Frank's Auto World on West Tennessee Street. Car Gurus rates each used vehicle for sale based on price and rates it as bad, fair, or a good deal. Who's the most good deals? FranksAutoWorld.com. Think I'm kidding? Type in FranksAutoWorld.com on your smartphone, iPad, or desktop. Get multiple pictures and even a free Carfax of each vehicle and a rating by Car Gurus showing you the price is a good deal. FranksAutoWorld.com.
College football programs know the importance of recruiting. If they want to compete at the highest level, they need to bring on the best talent, people who have the skills and drive to be a success. The same is true in business. Recruiting is vital. And with ZipRecruiter, you'll have a smarter and simpler way to assemble your own winning team. With just one click, you can post your job to over 100 job boards. Then ZipRecruiter's matching technology identifies relevant talent fast. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within 24 hours. And your ZipRecruiter dashboard helps keep everything in one place. So it's easy to review and rank the candidates with the best experience. You'll be building a powerhouse program in no time. Choose the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter, official hiring partner of the Florida State Seminoles.
For your free trial, go to ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles. ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles. Once again, for a free trial, go to ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. The Cowboys-Texans preseason game scheduled for tomorrow night has been canceled. The game was originally scheduled for Houston and then moved to Arlington in the aftermath of Harvey. Now, Texans players will be able to return to Houston to spend time with their families. Tomorrow's preseason game in New Orleans between the Saints and the Ravens will be played. The league had been talking about the possibility of canceling that game. ESPN's Kevin Seifert reports Johnny Manziel worked out last week for the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. they decided not to sign Manziel. Florida State coach Jimbo Fisher says it's iffy as to whether linebacker Matthew Thomas will be able to play against number 1 Alabama on Saturday night. Thomas hasn't practiced yet in camp. He was the Seminoles' leading tackler a year ago.
It's time to start getting the absolute best sleep of your life. Check out Reverie and see why so many former Sleep Number and Tempur-Pedic owners are making the switch to a better night's sleep. Go to tryrev.com/ESPN. Tryrev.com/ESPN.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning in and a fine Ballsmic Wednesday to you and yours. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but hey, if you do, we'll post all 3 hours upon the conclusion of the program, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. Also, you can email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Good article today if you'd like to read it. Got to give credit to ESPN senior writer Ryan McGee. An article involving West Virginia ties that bind Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. So go find that on ESPN.com. I'm not going to go through and read all of that, but I know that could be of interest to many of you. I thought it was well done. Also, this hour, speaking of ESPN.com, college football writer Brad Edwards going to join us here in about 12 minutes. That's how you know football season has started. We have Brad on frequently during the course of the year. He does an excellent job covering college football. He's also a guy that is really in tune with and tied into the ESPN college football, the playoff committee, if you will, and the job that they do and the behind the closed door stuff. So we try to get some insight from him over the course of a season as the games play out and maybe what the committee is looking at and potential surprises and all those things. So.
Yeah, sometimes I feel frustrated for Brad because he'll be on a set and people are speculating about what the college football playoff committee members think. And he goes, well, here's the mandate. I know what the mandate is.
Yeah.
I've done this. I've done a mock session. So here is what they have to do.
These are the things that are required to do, and here are some things that maybe they are doing. We'll see, yeah.
You're talking about what ought to be. I'm telling you about what is, because I've been there. I've seen it.
But remember this, too, and I think, this is one of the things I like about talking with him is that he's grown frustrated, just as the fans have, that, oftentimes we've seen the committee not follow that path, not follow the mandate, not necessarily remain consistent. We've seen wild inconsistencies, by the way, from the committee already. And I know there's no perfect system, but there are some things you have to do and remain constant with, and we haven't always seen that either. So I think there has been, and what I've liked about talking to Brad over the years is his willingness to cite those things and to be honest about those things.
He'll be blunt about it. When the college football playoff first started, this is before the 2014 season, you had a long-form discussion, and he talked about how Florida State's going to have a rough time, remaining at the top of the mountain. It's just in the nature of teams who win championships not to follow it up and look anything close to what they did when they win the title. But he talked about, the college football playoff having a human element, and you said, should people be concerned? And he bluntly answered, yes.
Without question. Because biases seep into that, and absolutely. Listen, I've also said I would never want to have to speak for that committee because those inconsistencies that are revealed by those votes and those standings are then things you have to turn around and talk about. And there are questions that are, obviously you're peppered with when you go on the set at ESPN or you're on via satellite that you don't have good answers for because there aren't good answers because those are leaps in logic. What do you do?
Yeah, I don't think many people liked Jeff Long when he was doing those interviews, and I know that he's moved on from that role.
Hey, but it sucked for him. I remember thinking, what are you supposed to do? Listen, this isn't my fault. Barry Alvarez is a dumbass. What do you want me to say?
Exactly. Perhaps he was in a circumstance where he has to just take the bullets, and it's not really – he's not speaking for himself. It's just impossible to know.
It wasn't perhaps, though. I think we do know. I think we know exactly.
Well, game control was just – that felt like his. It felt like he took personal ownership of game control.
I think it was a metric they wanted to use, and they thought it would be popular, and they thought they could, you could discern it rather easily, and that you could posit that thing without being second-guessed as much as they were. And then when they started getting asked about it, we're like, well, wait, this is like a made-up thing. What the hell are you talking about? There's no rhyme or reason to this nonsense. What are you talking about, game control?
Just do margin of victory if you want to do anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so anyhow, it did. It kind of made me laugh. By the way, the coaches, I don't know if you saw this. He didn't write this article. But we talk about this frequently every year. When you go into a season, there are guys out there that are assistants that you project are going to be head coaches following this year. Guys that are very popular, and you say, I think that guy – these 3 or 4 guys are candidates to get good jobs, or they're in lesser-tier jobs. PJ Fleck comes to mind, right? We were just talking about him last night. That special ran again last night. But the point of that is he was a very popular coach because he took Western Michigan from nothing to something and all that, and now is the head coach at Minnesota. You got a similar situation at Purdue in the Big Ten with Brom and all these different guys. But also there are the coaches that are on the collective hot seat, guys that you think, man, if they have a tough season this year, this could be it for them. Wouldn't you think that Kevin Sumlin would be that guy? I do this every year.
He's always your headliner.
Well,
always.
He has to be, man, and here's why. He's 21-19 in the SEC. He's 2 games above 500. It's not like he's kicking ass. It's not like there's a reason he has a job every year. They crash and burn in the second half of every season. So he's on my list. Gotta be. How's he not on yours? How's he not on everybody's list?
He's on my list. It's just I don't know. Sometimes you spread the love around. Admittedly, you look at Mora at UCLA. I don't know.
Okay, would you like Todd Graham at Arizona State, who's 6-12 in Pac-12 play over the last 2 seasons? Wouldn't he be on the list? I gave you Cliff Kingsbury.
Sure.
I gave you him as well.
Arizona State's going to give up 50 points a game every year.
Rich Rodriguez in Arizona? What's that guy doing? Whole lot of nothing. Barely over 500. He's been there 6 years.
How many times will the Sun Devils eclipse, and no pun intended for last week, but how many times will they score 55? That's how many times they're going to win in a given year. That's what you just figure on. How many times could we score over 50 points, and that's our win total.
I'll give you another one. Here's a more popular one, or maybe not popular, but a guy who surely has to be there because attitude alone is difficult to stomach, and on the field hasn't exactly, save for the one magical year, done anything. And I'm talking about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is 59-31 at Notre Dame.
Walked in there with a similar arrogance to Charlie Weiss, too, when he took over the job.
I mean, you go 4-8. They went 4-8, just like a certain team a couple hours away.
Sure.
4-8. And you are, as I just said, in your time at Notre Dame, 59-31. Come on, man.
Man, I go back to that, Texas-Notre Dame game, which was wildly entertaining, and everybody thought it was something that it wasn't. Notre Dame lost 7 more games after I watched Texas-Notre Dame last year at Memorial Stadium in Austin. Texas went on to lose to Kansas.
Yes.
Week 1 can be awesome sometimes because you just don't know what you're watching.
No, it's crazy. And not everybody's record or mandate is the same. Like Mark D'Antonio stunk last year at Michigan State, but I will tell you, he's lost 40. He's been there over a decade. He's 90-42. I was reading this earlier today. But, man, it's hard to get anybody to say yes to going to East Lansing as a big-time recruit. Like, you look at their recruiting rankings, they have no business winning as frequently as they do. So he's overachieved in my mind. They've done a lot more with less, given their recruiting rankings and what he has to work with on a yearly basis than some of these other guys. Now, a guy like Jim Mora. Now, you know how I feel about UCLA.
Sure. Yeah, I threw his name out
By the way, they too went 4-8 while we're talking about 4-8 teams. 4-8. He's in his 6th year. Every year somebody suggests UCLA is going to be pretty good, and then they're not ever any good. Last night, Kirk Herbstreit heard an interview. He goes, if you're looking for a surprise team, that UCLA team, Kirk, stop it. Stop it. No. I understand they got the quarterback. No. every year with UCLA already. Can we just stop with the nonsense? It is college football time. Brad Edwards, ESPN.com, college football writer, joins us next.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
My checkbook is the most wished-for item on Amazon.
I want it!
When I tip at restaurants, the wait staff retires.
Yeah!
But how did I do it all? That's my little secret.
Courier service, here's your big fat check from mybookie.ag.
I'm kind of doing a thing here.
Stop pretending it's a secret. Anyone can win on mybookie.ag. With 50% cash bonuses, great odds, and fast payouts, mybookie.ag is a no-brainer.
Listen, kid, how much will it cost for you to be quiet?
How much you got?
Try your luck today at mybookie.ag and use promo code RADIO.
Fire up the grills for another season of Seminole football.
2nd and 3, patient, then explosive, and a touchdown for the Noles.
It's Tallahassee Game Day, your ESPN Tallahassee pregame show featuring Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang.
Yeah, I like them.
Get the latest news, interviews, and insights 3 hours ahead of kickoff before the Noles defend home turf.
Hey, on Saturday, we're going to play a game. We're going to most likely win that game, and we're going to celebrate on Sunday.
Tallahassee Game Day is brought to you by Whole Foods Market, a leader in natural and organic food that brings the highest quality of local and global products to Tallahassee. Whole Foods Market, located at 1817 Thomasville Road, and presented by MMT Clinics of Florida. Visit mmtcfl.com.
To the pylon! That's a Seminoles touchdown!
Need a place to watch your favorite sporting event? Hobbit American Grill, voted best wings in Tallahassee by Tally Awards 3 years in a row. Thirsty? They have the Lucky Sevens. $7 domestic pitchers after 7 p.m., 7 days a week, $7.95. Daily specials. Locally owned and operated since 1978. Hobbit American Grill keeps it local with a wide variety of locally crafted beers plus a full bar. Hobbit American Grill. 3 locations to choose from. 400 Capitol Circle Southeast, 2020 West Pensacola Street, and 5032 Capitol Circle Southwest. Visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
97.9 ESPN Radio is proud to announce that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac High School Scholar Athlete of the Month is back. We'll announce the monthly winners beginning next Wednesday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and again during the Jeff Cameron Show from 3 to 6. Last year, 8 female and 8 male athletes won the monthly honors and were automatically qualified as a finalist for the Dale Earnhardt Jr. $2,500 year-end scholarship. Last year, Leon High's Anna K. Ford and Rickard's Taven Jackson took home the grand prizes. Since its inception 3 years
years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac has given out over $20,000 in scholarship awards to high school athletes throughout the Big Bend. Beginning next week, you can check out all the Athlete of the Month winners by visiting our website, espntallahassee.com, and help support our friends at Dale Jr. Check them out on the corner of Capitol Circle Northeast and Miccosukee, or visit them online at Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac.com.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Always a lot of fun. Always another great sign that football is upon us and that we get an opportunity to no longer, well, I don't know, spend endless amounts of time speculating about games that are weeks and weeks away. The sadness in our hearts over the summer having to do just that is now being replaced by the joy that you felt really at the end of last week and certainly every day this week and the build-up to the games this week and really starting tomorrow on into the weekend. And obviously that includes the big one between Florida State and Alabama. And joining us to talk about it now is ESPN college football writer and college football analyst Brad Edwards. He does every year. It's a pleasure, as always, Brad, to welcome you back to the program. How are you, good sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, and like you, can't wait to get some games played. I always say on our opening show of the season, that very first Saturday, it's my favorite day of the year because it's reality check for so many fan bases around the country. Like they're all as optimistic as they can possibly be. And I think what a lot of them learn and will learn in the next 3-4 days here is that their team is probably not going to win 10 games, and they don't have a bunch of All-Americans like they thought. Now, I'm not sure that's necessarily true for Alabama and Florida State, but for a lot of the teams, they're overhyped, and they're about to find that out.
You enjoy their pain. Look at you, sir. Just
yeah, it's kind of mean, isn't it?
But great.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It's like everybody thinks their team is great, and the reality is that they're not.
There are very few teams that are truly great. And so before we get to who you think is and who you would project many months from now to be in the college football playoff, who are some teams? You know, it's funny. I was talking in the previous segment. I was going through some of the coaches. Every year, we're at this juncture now where you kind of go into the season and you say, who's an assistant coach that's really a guy whose star is rising that will get a head coaching job next year? And who are the guys that have been in place for long enough now, either middling or performing poorly, that are going to be out of a job? And there are a lot of candidates, obviously, every year. Who are some people that you think are in real trouble going into this season, whether they be big names or not? I mean, obviously, you could look at a guy like Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech, or you could go on down the line and we could have the conversation about Brian Kelly at Notre Dame and a few others. Who do you think is in for a long year and in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an easy one, but week one, there are two of them that face each other, and it's Kevin Sumlin and A&M up against Jim Mora Jr. and UCLA. You know, I know people who are fans of both of those teams, and I think they probably are representative of their fan bases, and they're very frustrated with their coaches and the lack of production on the field. Obviously for A&M, outside of Johnny Manziel, and really just Manziel's first year, you haven't seen the payoff from the great recruiting that someone had, and then. You know, and not to mention with A&M, it's not taking advantage of the time that Texas was down. And now, I mean, I know they're not in the same conference anymore, but when you're A&M, it's still about being better than Texas. And they had a chance to really put some distance between themselves and the Longhorns, and they failed to do it. And of course, with UCLA, it was similar, which is that USC was down for a while. By USC standards, they were down. UCLA recruited really well. They didn't capitalize. So I think both of those coaches probably need to have a pretty good year in order to, stay in a good spot with the decision makers at their schools. I would give Mora a little bit better shot just because he has a quarterback right now, and I don't think anybody knows whether A&M does.
I always think, and I've maybe I overstate this sometimes, but I go into every season and I talk about teams that are under my tent of suspicion, as I call it, because annually they're talked about in a way that suggests they're going to achieve to a greater level and never do. And UCLA resides comfortably under the tent of suspicion every
That's fair.
every freaking year. Why have we gotten to a point where we ever think UCLA is ever going to be good again? When was the last time they were really, really good? I mean,
That's a great question. I mean, Cade McNown, like late 90s.
I mean, that's a long time ago, Brad.
That is. That's, you probably got people listening to your show who never heard of Cade McNown. So,
right.
Yeah, and the thing about UCLA is that, I mean, while they haven't recruited at a top 5 level, I think they've been pretty consistently like top 15. And, they've put guys into the NFL, but just as a team, it's never clicked. And, I think this is more than likely going to be the final college season for Josh Rosen. And, so they had a player, or they have had a player who, by all accounts, projects to be an NFL quarterback. And granted, they lost most of last season with him due to an injury. But when you have a player like that and you don't take advantage of it, that's really bad for a coach. I mean, look, at least Kevin Sumlin got a pretty good boost out of 1 year from Johnny Manziel. Right now, UCLA is looking at, if they don't do it this year, not getting anything significant out of their time with Josh Rosen. So it's act now for both of those programs.
ESPN college football analyst Brad Edwards joins us now on the program. Brad, I got to ask you, because you're close to it in the sense that you're from the area, and I remember talking to you when really it looked like both schools were at a place where we were surprised and really didn't kind of project or see it coming. I'm obviously starting to segue over into when Ole Miss and Mississippi State were playing a game, and they were both in the top 10, and it was an amazing thing. What do you make of the debacle and the way things unraveled at Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze and how that all went down over the summer?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, really less than 3 years ago. But, I guess the way I would frame this is that Mississippi State, and having grown up in that state, as you mentioned, I can kind of define the fan bases. I'm sure people in your area can kind of stereotype Florida State fans compared to Florida fans, compared to Miami fans, whatever. And the way I would do it with the Mississippi schools is that I think Mississippi State fans, for the most part, they know who they are. And having a head coach in Dan Mullen who can get them to a bowl game every year, they realize that they need to be content with that, because for most of their history, they haven't been that good. And so as much as they would love to have a bunch more years like that one they had with Dak Prescott, and they were at number 1 for 5 weeks, which still blows my mind. Mississippi State was number 1 in the AP poll for 5 weeks. But they know that those are going to be rare, and they just have to enjoy them when they're there and just be happy to be bowl eligible every other year. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they taste a little bit of success, and they start thinking that they're already on the Auburn LSU level. And that's the way the Ole Miss fans are. And so they always look at Mississippi State as being inferior to them, and they have a much higher opinion of themselves than they should. And so I think Ole Miss, because of that mentality, they just kind of they kind of felt like once they had a little bit of success that's where they belong. And so they were kind of entitled to have these top 10 recruiting classes and to be playing games that were very meaningful on the national stage. And when you start to feel that way and you get that taste of it, you don't want it to disappear. Sometimes boosters, cut corners and things like that, and that's apparently what happened at Ole Miss. And it is. I mean, look, I have family in Oxford, Mississippi, and I was there this summer visiting them. And you just look around at all the stuff they've done, all the investments they've made in the facilities, and expansion of the stadium. And you look at it and you think, man, what's going to happen if they go back to being Ole Miss? I mean, Ole Miss as they usually are over the next few years. How are they going to pay off that debt on the stadium and all? And look, there are a lot of schools that have done that type of stuff recently, and most of them don't end up winning at the same clip that they were when. And we just talked about A&M. They're another one that they had the big boost because of Manziel, all these donations. They, did just tremendous stuff with their stadium and their facilities, and now they've gone back to being, above average. But yeah, so for me, Jeff, Ole Miss more so than Mississippi State is the one that that I really worry about. Where do they go from here? Because the NCAA hammer hasn't even really come down yet. I just got to believe there's more than what they decided to self-sanction, and if there is, trying to build something back up, playing that SEC West schedule, especially when you're Ole Miss, that could keep them down for quite a while.
By the way, as an aside, we'll move on from this, but I did want to get your insight on that. I've always said, and I thought he would have already done it by now, jumping back over to Mississippi State. I really thought that when Dan Mullen got there, that he turns them around. That first year he's sub 500, but then immediately he wins. I think it was 9 games, and then it's then he gets them into bowl games. They're winning some of those games, and they have the big 10-win season that we were just alluding to, and a 9-win season after that. I would have thought he would have parlayed that and gotten the hell out of Dodge.
I would have thought so too.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. That's not really my beat. Is coaching hires and all that stuff. But I'm sure there are several good reporters out there who could give you the scoop on how close he may have been to taking a job somewhere else. I don't know which ones seriously considered him, but I can't imagine that Mississippi State is a destination for him. And like, as long as he keeps having winning seasons there. He's going to be in the conversation for bigger jobs, because I think most people recognize that that's an accomplishment itself, just having winning seasons at Mississippi State. But I'm with you. I would not have imagined that with the streak of bowl seasons that he has, that he would still be there, especially having the tremendous success he had in 2014.
All right, so let's go straight to this. Obviously, I'd like to almost go team by team, but we don't have the time for that. So I do want to get right to the big game that we've been talking about the entire offseason, and that most of people in college football have been talking about, because we've waited. I mean, these two ships have kind of passed in the night repeatedly, but they have not gone head-to-head, and it seems like everybody else that's on that short list of preeminent college football teams over the last 5 to 6 years have over various points played one another, whether that be Clemson and Florida State obviously every year, or Clemson and Ohio State, and Alabama and Ohio State, and all these other matchups, but Alabama and Florida State haven't played. I'll give you the perspective from here. Obviously, Tallahassee is excited, as you might expect, to finally get this matchup, and the buzz has been really for months on end now. I may have thrown some water on the fire when I said I thought Alabama would win the game. I'll get your prediction on that in a moment. But I have heard some things out of Alabama camp that have kind of raised an eyebrow. In your mind, going into this game, what is Bama beyond the fact that they're always very talented and recruit better than everybody else in the country? But when you hear that the camp's gone just okay, what are your thoughts on what Bama is coming into this season, fresh off that narrow miss of a national championship a year ago?
Well, I think we all have a tendency to give Alabama benefit of doubt, and they have earned it. The fact that they have lost more players to the NFL than anyone else over the last 9 years, and they've continued to be a national title contender every single season. It is realistic to expect that that's not going to change this year, but I do wonder if this isn't a little bit different. Over the past 2 years, they really changed their defense to adapt to what offenses are doing now, by having a group of defensive linemen who were able to put pressure on the quarterbacks. They didn't have to blitz. They were able to keep those athletic linebackers underneath, and allow safeties to help out in coverage, and just those defensive ends mostly were able to get pressure on the quarterback, and they lost their top 4 guys from last year in both sacks and tackles for loss. And this is a team that has been right up there among the national leaders 2 years in a row. In making plays in the backfield, and I don't think that guys like that are immediately replaced. You're going to have more 4 or 5 star guys that are going to take their place, and Florida State fans know this. They've recruited their fair share of 4 and 5 star guys, and just because you replace one with another doesn't mean that new guy is going to be nearly as good as the guy before him. And a lot of times, even if he does end up being that, he's not that in game one. And so that's kind of where I wonder how good Alabama is on the defensive front, even though we've come to expect that that's an area where they're always going to dominate. I think there are legitimate questions. The other two big questions I have about them are on offense. One is Jalen Hurts, who we all saw last year really struggle throwing the ball down the field against good defenses. And you wonder how much has he been able to improve. Sometimes quarterbacks do improve a lot, especially coming off of a true freshman season, having a chance to kind of review a lot of stuff, work on some things in the off season. And but until they go out there and play, you don't know. And I'm also fascinated, by the way, to see how Florida State defends him. Do they take that approach of you're going to have to hit a few downfield, at least 2, if not 3, before we're going to respect your ability to do it. Otherwise, we're just going to start by assuming that that you can't do that, just like you couldn't last year. And that's, I guess, in a way, is kind of how I would expect FSU to defend it. Is just to kind of put a lot of guys close to the line and see if he can do it. But then the third thing with Alabama is the offensive coordinator. You've got a guy who has not been an offensive coordinator in college before. And I think that it could go either way. Look, that could be a big advantage for Alabama in that Florida State coaches don't know exactly how he's going to call a game, because even if you look at what he did in the NFL, it's different. He's got a quarterback with a completely different skill set than what he would have had in the NFL. But then there's also the possibility that it takes him a while to catch on to the college game, and it ends up, being a little bit of a disaster at the start of the season. So these are all things that I think could go against, Alabama. And most of the time in these season openers, they've kind of got all their ducks in a row. You're not usually able to point to that many things that you think could be a real cause for concern for them.
Yeah, when they made the hire of Brian Dable, I thought it was interesting that he hadn't coached in college since, 98? 99, I think it was, with Saban at Michigan State.
Grad assistant under Saban, at Michigan State.
That's a long time ago, so you do wonder, but obviously he and Saban have a relationship, and so they're comfortable there. That is curious. Now, your question marks or the pluses, either way, you can assess it. I'm curious your thoughts on Florida State. Here, obviously, year in and year out, we get an opportunity to talk to Jimbo Fisher and to some of the players, and I was at ACC kickoff, and I think just getting the finger on the pulse of the fan base, it's the same question that frequently we have to ask, which is how consistent is this offensive line going to be, and are they able to hold up and protect DeAndre Francois, who showed an awful lot last year but also took a beating in doing so. And he's not that big a guy. His heart is unquestionably big, but he took just a beat down, but he stood in there. So I guess your thoughts as you get ready to embark on a season of covering college football, where Florida State's at.
Yeah, let me start on defense. I'm just very interested to see how the return of Derwin James affects them. They obviously made improvement defensively over the course of last season as they adjusted to being without him. Louisville game clearly was an absolute debacle. But after that, even though you give up points to Clemson and Michigan, I don't think that they played poorly defensively. I think they played okay defensively down the stretch, and I would expect they'll be better defensively this year, especially with him back in there. So I am looking forward to seeing how that affects them. But my questions mostly are on offense. And there are obviously a lot of things that they have to replace there. Having Francois back is a big deal. Look, as talented as the running backs may be, the thing you have with Dalvin Cook is a guy who could make plays in the passing game. A lot of people, don't think about that. When I was just doing something with Oklahoma, who lost Joe Mixon, and it's the same type of thing. Running backs who can catch the ball downfield. I'm not talking about catching screen passes and making a guy miss and getting a big play off that, but guys who can actually run routes down the field and catch the ball from the running back position. Those guys don't grow on trees, and so I don't think that you can assume that just because a guy's a 5-star that he's going to be Dalvin Cook when he first steps. And we all know, running backs always have to adjust to pass protection. That's another thing that they didn't really have to do much of in high school. Ends up being a big factor. So I think that at least at the early stages of the season, that's going to be a question with Florida State is, how close to replacing that production of Dalvin Cook can they get? And the offensive line is an obvious one. The thing that I really don't know, you'd have a better idea because you probably talked to Jimbo about it, is how much of the sacks and the other hits that Francois took last year were on Francois for holding the ball too long. And so there's probably an element of that where he needs to improve as well. Certainly the offensive line has to get better. And then whenever you have to replace some of your main targets from the previous year,
sure,
there's always a chemistry question, that comes along. And so Florida State have some legitimate offensive questions. And I think if FSU had more certainty on offense, I wouldn't hesitate to pick them in this game because of what I laid out with the questions that Alabama has on its defensive front. But because they don't have an offensive line, that's bringing most of the guys back from a unit that was really good the year before, I have a hard time saying that Alabama's defensive front might not still get the better of play, even though they're very inexperienced. And so that's where my hesitation is. There are a lot of areas where I like Florida State in this game, and that to me, I think is going to be where it's decided, which is to what degree can Florida State take advantage of Alabama's inexperience up front defensively.
We're talking to ESPN college football insider and analyst for College Game Day on ESPN Radio, Brad Edwards. Brad, I want to ask you two quick things before we let you go. And one of them is this question that we've been asking around here. If either way, the loser of this game would still have an opportunity, obviously, to make the college football playoff. And since you're so tied into the process and the mandates of the College Football Playoff Committee, and you and I have this discussion ongoing all throughout the course of the year, which I thoroughly enjoy, you wonder, could a two-loss team who chooses to take on this game, the loser of this game, go on and maybe lose a close game somewhere else but still be in their conference championship game and win that game? Could they make the playoff? And would the committee reward a team if, in fact, I'll give you a scenario, Florida State loses this game but plays well, unlike Southern Cal a year ago, and then maybe loses a 3-point, loses by a last-second field goal on the road at Clemson, but still they win the division, go to the ACC championship. Would they get in over a one-loss Pac-12 team, for example?
Even if they don't win the division, I think there's still a shot. And the reason I say that is just because of the quality of the ACC, which is something that a few years ago you wouldn't have been able to say.
No way in hell, but it's amazing.
But when you combine that with playing both Alabama and Florida out of conference, I think there's still a lot of meat on the bone in terms of quality wins that they would have in addition to two close losses. And by the way, you're talking about two close losses away from home. But I think the key is the close part. Like you said, don't do what USC did last year. Because look, a lot of people will say, hey, Penn State last year, that's all the example you need that the selection committee is not going to take a two-loss team. The issue with Penn State, and also if you want to throw in Oklahoma, which had two losses at the end of the regular season last year and was also on a big roll, and even USC, which had three losses and then switched to Sam Darnold and went on a run, all those teams with multiple losses had at least one non-competitive loss. And I think that is as big of a deal to the selection committee as the number of losses, maybe a bigger deal. And so I think if there's a formula for a two-loss team to get in, they number one, don't need to have any lopsided losses. I think it would help if both losses are away from home. And then on top of it, they need to have some quality wins to put up there. So if they didn't, of course, this is not what you want to be planning for going into the season
right.
opener.
Yeah.
But in the event that they were to lose, and the same thing's true for Alabama. If Alabama loses, you start looking at the rest of the schedule, and what you need if you're the team that lost that is for some of your future opponents to have good seasons, because and in some cases that means rooting for conference rivals that you would normally, like in the case of Florida State, Miami is a team that you would want to root for to have a good season, and maybe you have a chance to beat them twice, even if you only beat them once, and don't get the second shot. It still helps. So I think that's the way I would look at it. All of that said, Jeff, if I were an AD and my ultimate goal was to get my team in the playoff,
you wouldn't
I
schedule
don't
this
play
game.
a game like this.
No,
I would not play this game because until I see proof that the selection committee is willing to reward a strong schedule, I'm not going to take the risk.
I've thought about it, said it before, talked about it on numerous occasions. People used to get mad at me all the time under the old BCS system. I'd say, man, go undefeated and play nobody. I guarantee you're playing for the national title. And they would go, what? No, listen, if you have cachet, if you're a name program that everybody follows and you've built that up over the years and you're not coming out of the blue, you get the benefit of the doubt even if you don't deserve it.
And look, we all know that's not all this is about. It's not just about winning national titles. If it was, I think that's the way teams would schedule. It's also about the experience for the players and, and just basically trying to build the best team you can. And part of, building a good team is testing them. And so that's why coaches like Saban and Fisher schedule games like this is because, they want to have their guys work to get better and then put tests out in front of them to see how well they're doing. And it's not the same mindset as, okay, let's just see if we can just, escape through the regular season without losing a game and then get in the playoff and see what happens. And look, I do think your best chance to win the playoff once you get there is to be battle tested. I think if you just skate by against weak competition and somehow the committee rewards you, I don't think you're as likely to be able to handle, those last two games and be able to win the whole thing.
Last one, we're about to have our perceptions changed across the board as to who's for real and who's a pretender. Who do you feel confident about this year, Brad?
For overall?
Yep.
For playoff?
Yep. College football as a whole. You don't have to, however you want to handle that. Who do you really like going into this season? Maybe somebody people are obviously pointing to, but maybe somebody that nobody's talking about. Who do you like and who do you think is in for a rude awakening?
I like, they're obvious picks, Alabama and Ohio State.
Sure.
Of the other two playoff teams, I took Clemson out of the ACC, not because I have any issue with Florida State, but I think that people are too quick to dismiss Clemson just because they lost Deshaun Watson, and obviously they didn't just lose him; they lost some really talented guys on offense. But I think Dabo's built that program well enough, and especially when you look at what they have coming back defensively. I don't think they need to be an elite offense anymore. I think being a good offense with that defense gives them a chance. And to me, the biggest thing in that choice of Clemson in the ACC is that Florida State not only has to go to Clemson, but it's late in the year. I think if Florida State could get them earlier, before the quarterback situation is really figured out, then they would be a better opportunity to beat them. But I'm going with Clemson for now, and I'm going with Washington in the Pac-12. And when I came up with those picks, it didn't occur to me until I put them on paper that those are the same four teams that were in the playoff last year, which means there's absolutely no way it's going to happen.
No chance in hell.
They're all preseason top 8, and that's another thing I'm really big on is that it's not going to be chalk. I didn't take all conference favorites, but they're all preseason top 8.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. Someone's going to come from a little bit further back in the pack, and I'm not going to have them, whoever they are.
Well, Florida State fans are hoping that you have grossly overestimated, what Clemson's going to be after such a devastating loss of Deshaun Watson, and noted that Florida State fans need to root for Miami to have a good season. They would be quick to tell you, as would I, that would be the first time Miami's had a good season in just over a decade.
That's fair.
But Brad, I always appreciate this, and I'm glad we're able to just scratch the surface as we get set for the games. And happy football, buddy. We'll talk again throughout the year.
All right. Can't wait.
All right. Take care. All right. That's Brad Edwards. He is ESPN College Football Insider and analyst for College Game Day on ESPN Radio and a friend of the Jeff Cameron Show. Also works with the ESPN Stats and Info Group and comes up with a lot of interesting stuff. Brad's good people, man. I've talked with him on the air over the years. I've done work with him on the air as well, off the air as well. And he's a good guy. And we'll have to razz him about that Clemson pick. What the hell, Brad?
We'll see in November. Maybe he'll come on for Clemson week. And
Oh,
see how he feels about them.
Well, he doesn't dodge anything. He'll come on for Clemson week. Hell, he'll come on for Miami week. He'll come on for a lot of these games. So he'll have a chance to kind of apologize to everybody. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters Marina, your full-service marina, and presented by Hobbit American Grill, locally owned and operated since 1978.
Do you want the cleanest used car, truck, or SUV at the lowest price? FranksAutoWorld.com. How has Frank's Auto World become Tallahassee's fastest growing used car dealer? Simple. Frank carries up to 70 of the cleanest used cars, trucks, and SUVs, then prices them on the internet lower than the competition. Think I'm kidding? Type in FranksAutoWorld.com on your smartphone, iPad, or desktop. Get multiple pictures and even a free Carfax of each vehicle and a rating by Car Gurus showing you the price is a good deal. FranksAutoWorld.com.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility, says it's summertime, and summertime is the time to go green and save energy. Here are a few simple things you can do right now that will save energy while you try to keep out of the summer heat. First thing, get your air conditioner checked out and change your air filters. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how much energy and money you can save. Going away from home on vacation? Why not purchase a programmable thermostat to regulate your air conditioner while you're not at home? Talk about an investment that'll pay energy savings dividends. Make an appointment right away for a free energy audit from the City of Tallahassee Utilities. You never know how much energy you can save until you do it. The City of Tallahassee is offering insulation grants. Why not apply for one? Did you know that the City of Tallahassee offers loans to help with the purchase of solar water heaters? Visit talgov.com/YOU for information on loans and rebates. So stay cool, go green, and save energy all summer long. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility.
If you've been suffering from a chronic illness and prescription drugs aren't working, it's time to seek alternative treatment. Dr. Joe Dorn provides evaluations and ordering of natural products for patients who qualify under the new Amendment 2 law. To make an appointment with Dr. Dorn or for a free e-visit, go to mmtcfl.com. That's mmtcfl.com. Visit Dr. Dorn at our Tallahassee MMT Clinic on Capitol Circle Northeast, next to the Cake Shop. It's time to stop suffering and seek affordable and compassionate care.
Calling all golfers. Labor Day is your last chance to save huge this summer at Edwin Watts Golf Shops with deals in every department this Friday through Monday. You'll save up to 20% on apparel, footwear, golf bags, and carts. The more you spend, the more you save. Bridgestone E6 soft and speed golf balls are on sale for $19.99 a dozen. And you can pick up the Garmin S2 watch for only $119.99. Don't miss these deals and more 4 days only at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Open Labor Day from 9 to 5.
Football season is in full swing, and so is AAA One Transmission. AAA One Transmission is locally owned and operated by Tim Pridgett, who's been servicing the Tallahassee area for over 37 years. Brakes, transmissions, electrical systems, tune-ups, and battery checks. No matter what ails your vehicle, AAA One Transmission can make your automobile healthy again. Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop it at 1023 North Monroe Street or call them at 222-2532.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
As always, we appreciate Brad Edwards, ESPN College Football Insider, joining us on the program. He will throughout the course of the year. Hey, man, you do realize it's really kind of the final 10 minutes of a work day for most people, so it's the perfect time for Beer 30, presented by our fine friends at the 7th Hill Tap Room on Appalachian Parkway.
Count 'em up, pour 'em out.
I'll just have a cup of coffee.
There it is. It's Beer 30, brought to you by the 7th Hill Tap Room on Appalachian Parkway.
Tonight is State Worker Wednesday, where happy hour specials run all night for state workers. All teachers are included in the promotion.
Don't forget about your 7th Hill Tap Room $10 Cup Club cup. And if you need a reminder as to the happy hour specials that the state workers and teachers can enjoy all night long, or you can from 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Buy 2 drafts, you can get the third free. Buy 1 delicious 32-ounce crowler, get the second one half off. And $5 bonus cash for self-service tap cards every time you spend $10. So $20, you get $10 in free bonus cash.
Our thanks to our friends at the 7th Hill Tap Room, right underneath Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, where you can always find the newest and freshest Florida craft beer. That's a good thing.
Yeah, another thing to promote, too, for Friday, the Corner Pocket stepping up for
this is huge and good, yes.
Hurricane Harvey relief. They'll be taking donations at the door Friday night, cash donations. They'll be sending it to the American Red Cross Disaster Fund for Hurricane Harvey. So if you're looking for something to do on the eve of our football season, Friday night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, they'll have live music and entertainment starting at 9 p.m., but they'll be taking donations behind the bar at the door all night long, and they're trying to do their part to help our affected brethren in Houston.
Yeah, so obviously, again, most people are looking for something to do on a Friday night. There you go. That's how you help out, and they are doing the right thing. You can, too, by heading on over there and enjoying the atmosphere there. Hey, by the way, real quick, this is a sad note, somber note for me. Think about this. We've lost 2 legends in the college basketball world here in the last 2 days. Judd Heathcote, he died most recently. And then Raleigh Massimino today, 1985 national champion there at Villanova. I've got great memories of that. One of my favorite events that I ever watched, college sporting event that I have ever watched, not in person, but just at home watching the national championship win over Georgetown. Massimino was 82 years old. He had been battling cancer, but he was a fun coach, man. He was a joy to watch. And, when they topped Georgetown that year, I can remember watching that game with my mom and my stepdad in our living room in St. Pete and being on the floor when it was Ed Pickney received the inbounds pass, and he falls to the ground and holds up his hand with possession of the basketball and time's running out. And you could hear him yelling, yes, yes, at the top of his lungs. And fat Raleigh Massimino running out there. He was about 5 feet tall is what he looked like compared to those guys, rolling out there with his hands pointed to the heavens. And it was an amazing moment. And one of my favorite championship moments of any sport. So I remember him fondly. And it's a it's just kind of sad to see these guys now who, when I was in high school or middle school and was really getting into college basketball and sports in general, those guys, they're falling away from us. They're passing away, and it's it's life. It's what happens. But when you lose two in a short period of time, kind of a punch in the stomach there. That's a shame to see. Rest in peace, Raleigh Massimino, one of the good guys of the college basketball world. Fun guy to have followed over the years. He came to Tallahassee many moons ago and watched him up and down the sideline. I think he was at Cleveland State there at the end. So again, tip of the cap. Rest in peace, Raleigh Massimino. Final hour. That would be our forthcoming. Stay with.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. The Cowboys-Texans preseason game scheduled for tomorrow night has been canceled. The game was originally scheduled for Houston and then moved to Arlington in the aftermath of Harvey. Now, Texans players will be able to return to Houston to spend time with their families. Tomorrow's preseason game in New Orleans between the Saints and the Ravens will be played. The league had been talking about the possibility of canceling that game. ESPN's Kevin Seifert reports Johnny Manziel worked out last week for the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. They decided not to sign Manziel. Florida State coach Jimbo Fisher says it's iffy as to whether linebacker Matthew Thomas will be able to play against number 1 Alabama on Saturday night. Thomas hasn't practiced yet in camp. He was the Seminoles' leading tackler a year ago.
It's time to start getting the absolute best sleep of your life. Check out Reverie and see why so many former Sleep Number and Tempur-Pedic owners are making the switch to a better night's sleep. Go to tryrev.com/ESPN. tryrev.com/ESPN.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. And I thank you for that. Today being a glorious Balls McWednesday. Yeah, football nearly here. If you missed it last hour, we had Brad Edwards. And he is a college football insider, writer, analyst. He enjoyed us, and he joined us and enjoyed it, I think.
I apologize in advance for having to go to break quickly this segment. We got to pay the bills. He took up a lot of time.
There were a lot of things there. I refuse to pay attention to the rules of radio sometimes, and sometimes that's a good thing. It's to the benefit of all of our listeners. It's to my benefit, selfishly, to your benefit. But it's also not always fair. It's not always the right thing to do, and it's one time it's sometimes that you have to wave your arms frantically and say, Cameron, already, these are bills and they must be paid and they're done with advertising.
Well, we can work it and make sure it's okay because we're not going to put out like an 8-minute break. I mean, who the hell does that?
No.
So we're going to keep it reasonable.
I mean, there are stations in town.
So every sponsor is equally, heard from. But we do have the sponsors and the lights are on, so we got to keep them on.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Lights being on are a good thing. Hey, by the way, we're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. If you do miss something, it's all right. We'll catch up, and you can get caught up at your leisure by going and finding it, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. Email the show if you want. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. And on Twitter, it's @JCameronShow. Hey, as an aside, the point he made last hour when we were talking Florida State, Alabama, and the question marks surrounding Alabama and the Noles, he mentioned that the hiring of New England Patriots assistant Brian Daboll as the new offensive coordinator was one of them. Listen, anytime you bring in a new offensive or defensive coordinator, it's a big deal. I suspect, given that he and Nick Saban have a previous relationship, that they've worked on the staff together prior, that Nick knows, what he believes, his philosophy, and how that's going to intertwine with what they're doing program-wide. So he wouldn't have made the decision to do that if he didn't trust it. But there has to be something to the idea, or certainly would stand to reason. I know football's football, but college football is different than pro football. And what that quarterback can do, Jalen Hurts at Alabama, and what his quarterbacks can do in the NFL are very different things. And if you want to know that experience that I'm referencing, Daboll had 17 years of experience in the National Football League as an assistant coach. 3 different stints as an offensive coordinator. He did that with Cleveland back in 2009 and 2010. He did it with Miami in 2011 and Kansas City in 2012. But he hasn't coached in college since 98-99 when he was on Nick Saban's staff at Michigan State. So some people have asked about that hiring. Some people have wrote to the show and said, what do you think the effects are? And you really can't know that. I am very curious, just like everybody else, to see how this works and how seamlessly it works or not.
Well, we've gone through this before here where there's been a new coordinator, and it's usually a defensive coordinator because Jimbo's just going to call the plays.
Yeah,
he's the head coach
yeah,
here. So, but we talk about how hands-on will Jimbo be, with a Mark Stoops or a Jeremy Pruitt or a Charles Kelly, and even, with Charles Kelly within his tenure here. We talked about from 2016 to 2017, how much more hands-on is Jimbo in the offseason in managing the defense and spending time with the defensive side of the ball and those coaches over there. So I'm sure it's a major talking point for those that are dialed into the program, that people who talk Alabama football every day want to know. But they're not going to know until we get, 2 months into the season to really get a feel for the offense and the goals.
Maybe 3 or 4 games at minimum, right, just to get a
minimum.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it's weird, too, if you think about him coming into this situation. First of all, I believe Nick hired him because it is a low-profile hiring. It's not a high-profile, look-at-me guy. He's had plenty of those guys. Obviously Lane Kiffin to go along with Sarkisian. So he's had those guys. I think he wanted kind of a under-the-radar hire and somebody that he would be comfortable with. But I was just thinking about it from Daboll's perspective. So he's a Belichick disciple, and Saban and Belichick and all that connection. It's there. But so if you're Daboll, you've now worked with the Jets and Brett Favre when he was there, and you worked with Tom Brady in New England, and you go back through and look at some of the other pretty elite level passers that he's been with. Well, I imagine that frustration is infinite on a daily basis, having to watch Jalen Hurts miss wide open guys or not get to his third progression, right? I mean, that is a drastic difference.
It's probably the most frustration he's felt since he was the offensive coordinator for, what were those teams again? Cleveland for a stretch, Miami for a stretch.
Yeah, it was 2011 with Miami. Yeah.
Kansas City, they're offensively challenged too. So, then again, those might have been the Priest Holmes years.
Think
Time
about
does
this.
fly.
Tom, that is Alabama under Nick Saban. This is their 6th offensive coordinator.
And they keep on winning, don't they?
That's what I mean. Whenever, when we have this conversation and people say, well, what's it going to be like? And I'm not so sure it's going to be an easy transition. I go, well, he's done it 6 times, and they seem to work out all right.
We're not buying it. We think it's about long-term, not short-term. But again, I just think the head-scratcher of the offseason has been that Nick Saban's talking about implementing a more pro-style approach. The personnel doesn't have, the means right now. Your quarterback situation is not such that you're going to be running a pro-style offense. It just doesn't make sense. So we don't think it's going to occur in game 1. But
I hope they try, Tom. I would love to see Jalen Hurts really establish himself as a pro-style quarterback, really deciding to deflect any option he has to run the football. Jalen, you stay right in that pocket and go ahead and go through your reads, young man, and make those throws. Show us what you're going to be like at the next level.
Close game going either way, and if there is a rematch, I just wonder, what's the conversation like about Alabama's offense at that point if we're seeing them again in January? Who's their quarterback, and what do we say after watching 13 games of Alabama football?
Once Saban made the commitment to running his quarterback to take advantage of the rules of college that don't exist in the NFL or don't exist in the same way, I don't think he goes back on that. I mean, it's one of those things that you're tasked with winning football games. You can hate the rule if you want, but you got to take advantage of it. It's what we're imploring Jimbo to do more of with his quarterback. And I do believe DeAndre Francois needs to run the ball more this season as a whole, but especially in this game. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, Not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
In case of a breakdown, day or night, their certified technicians can get you up and running in no time. Turn to the experts at Carrier and at Barano Heating and Air. Call 580-4029 or visit baranoac.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Hey, this is Clay Culpepper with Miller's Tree Service. Summertime is here and storm season is right around the corner. We offer free consultations with a certified arborist where we meet with you and advise you on which trees are healthy, diseased, dead, or ones that may need trimming or even removal.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Give us a call at 894-TREE.
This year's Kingfish Tournament is in the books. Although the weather wasn't the best, over 55 boaters registered for the tournament, and Sea Quarters Marina would like to thank everyone that came out. $50,000 was raised for leukemia research this year, which brings the total to $915,000 over 14 years. The winning kingfish, caught by Team Bill Collector, weighed 47 pounds, and the winning Spanish mackerel, caught by Team Neil Brooks Electric, weighed 5 pounds. Additionally, fishermen donated approximately 1,000 pounds, which will be sold to raise funds for leukemia research. Sea Quarters Marina hopes to see you at the 2018 Kingfish Tournament.
Football season is here, and it's time to score big and get in on the action with MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is an industry-leading website and the best place for you to cash in on all the insane last-minute drives, huge upsets, and heart-pounding finishes. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 100% bonus. They have in-game live betting on nearly every sporting event, plus a user-friendly mobile site so you never miss a single play. Are you sick and tired of getting the runaround when you ask for a payout? Come join MyBookie today. With decades of expertise, no hassle payouts, and no fine print, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business, guaranteed. Use promo code RADIO to activate your bonus of up to 100%. Call 844-900-2387 or visit mybookie.ag to open an account. That's 844-900-BETS or go online to mybookie.ag and use promo code RADIO. Win with the best only at MyBookie. Sign up today.
Can't decide between fresh steak, seafood, or wings? Well, Miller's Ale House on Appalachia Parkway has it all. From center-cut sirloin and original pastas to fresh salads and favorites like Miller's Signature Zingers, tossed in your favorite sauce. Miller's Ale House has a full-service bar featuring more than 75 beers, plus wine and liquors. Bring the family to watch the big game inside or on their covered patio on one of over 60 HD TVs. However you come to relax, you will have a good time and great food at Miller's Ale House on Appalachia Parkway.
You're listening to the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio, Balls McWednesday edition of the program. Really does feel sort of does feel like a hump. You know, hump day is a cliche, and I don't normally mention it, but it does feel like that. It feels like kind of a useless. We've had a good day. I mean, it's been fun, and we'll continue to do the right thing, which is talk about this game, talk about football and all that stuff. But I am at that place now where I don't know that there's much more analysis to be done, especially because I think, and this isn't the point I wanted to make, I'm going to get to a story that interests me in just a second that involves an ESPN personality and color analyst quitting his job today, citing fears of what football does to people. Interesting that that's happening. But anyway, I'll talk about that in a second. Having said that, I think this is straightforward. The idea here is that you have to stop Alabama from running the football, and you got to be able to score in the red zone, and you got to win field position, and then you got to keep DeAndre Francois upright. And I don't think there's much else to say about the game.
Well, yeah, because you don't really know who these two teams are. We'd like to think we know what they're going to be, but it's the first game of the season. Their identity is only going to be built in September. It's not already ready-made and established. So there's going to be adversity. I mean, with this schedule the way it is, there's going to be adversity, and that's when you find out what kind of team you have. But we don't know who they are. We don't know who Alabama is. We know what the recruiting rankings say. We know what history tells us about what they're likely going to be. But the character of the team, the personality of the team, as Jimbo says, we don't know for either side. And
that's the part you don't know is the personality of a particular team, because every year has the shelf life of 1 year, which we do know coaches are fond of pointing out and are accurate. But we also know, based on the two head coaches, some elements of what the two teams are year in and year out.
Right, schematically, yeah. and from a philosophy standpoint, absolutely. Sure. But, I mean, it wasn't – I'm not saying that Florida State's going to go through this specifically, but – it wasn't until a point in the season that USC found its quarterback last year. But, if you judge them by the way they played Alabama
early
in week
on,
1,
yeah,
you wouldn't have believed that by the time you got to the playoff discussion, the final discussion, that USC would be an outsider, one of the hottest teams in the country, and a team that nobody would want to play. You couldn't believe that after week 1. So these things are fluid, and we're trying to make, definitive judgments without seeing one play yet.
So you guys know who Ed Cunningham is. He teamed with Mike Patrick.
It was Ed Cunningham?
He's really good.
Whoa.
Does a great job, and he's only 48 years old. He has decided to walk away, and I respect him. I admire his decision. I'm not at the same place he's at, and I don't do the same job that he does. And I certainly didn't play for as long or as high a level of football that he did. So there are other factors involved in his decision that don't necessarily apply with me on a daily basis. But you and I have had this conversation with our relationship to football, and a lot of people, a lot of fans are having this exact same conversation. People that are conscientious, people that think deeply about the issues of the day, any issue, have to kind of get right with where they're at with football, armed more and more with insights that make you uncomfortable. I've seen players walk away, we all have, at a very young age, some in the prime of their career, walking away from big-time contracts, leaving millions of dollars on the table because they're uncomfortable with what we're learning and what medical science is telling us about the game. This is the first color analyst, making 6 figures a year, working for ESPN, doing a great job, in my opinion, that resigns ahead of the upcoming season and does so today. He has resigned as college football analyst for ESPN and ABC because of his growing discomfort with the players' health and safety due to the sport. He explained in an interview that he did today with John Branch of the New York Times. If you don't know Cunningham's background, this isn't some soft guy. This is a 48-year-old man that played and was captain of the Washington Huskies team back in '91 that won the national championship. I remember that team.
It all comes back to Washington.
No, it does not. But he had a 5-year career in the NFL as well with Arizona and later Seattle. He's been a color commentator for ABC, for ESPN over the last 2 decades. And now he's off. He says, quote, "I take full ownership of my alignment with the sport. I just can no longer be the cheerleader in that spot. In its current state, there are real dangers. The crux of this is that I just don't think the game is safe to the brain. And to me, that's unacceptable." It is said that Cunningham was greatly affected most recently by the death of his former teammate, Dave Duerson. Duerson killed himself. You remember Duerson from the Bears. He killed himself in 2011. And he was found to have chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE.
Very nicely done.
And so combined with that and the most recent studies, Dr. Ann McKee there at Boston University, and many other things that are coming out, more and more people are getting uncomfortable with the information. He said this: "I know a lot of people say, people who say, I just can't cheer for the big hits anymore. I used to go nuts, and now I just hope he gets up." His eyes welled with tears, apparently, while having this conversation, doing this interview. This is what the reporter writes. "It's changing for all of us. I don't currently think the game's safe. And oh, by the way, I've had teammates who died, who killed themselves. Dave Duerson put a shotgun to his chest so he could study his brain. We could study his brain afterwards. went on and talked about other factors that have led to this decision. I was being paid a nice six-figure salary for not a lot of days of work, true, and a lot of live television, except for non-sports fans. People would beat me up to take my job, I can promise you that. I'm leaving a job that is simply great. It's not kind of good, it's great, but I have to do this. Courage of your convictions, man. It's a hard thing sometimes. It's it can take years, and I respect his decision. I'm not there. That's not where I'm at, but I certainly respect his decision, and that is an interesting development. By the way, we look big picture. This is what the NFL is scared to death of. This is what football advocates are scared to death of.
I know that this is a cop-out because it sounds cliche, but I honestly mean it. I wonder what the sport will look like in 20 years. Everybody says that, but I think it's a throwaway line when most say it. They're just trying to advance the discussion or something, or trying to get out of the discussion. But seriously, I mean, what is football going to look like in 20 years if right now on campuses around the country you have 17 and 18-year-old kids coming to play college football that look like nothing the NFL saw by and large in the 1970s and 1980s, from 30-year-olds who are in the prime of their career. Now, all of a sudden, with specialized training and the advancement, evolution generation by generation, you're seeing 6'4" Mack trucks
that can run.
That can run at 17 or 18 years old, that can go sideline to sideline on defense.
This is the whole thing, Tom. The game's survival depends on the advancements in medical science. And the ability to treat concussions and prevent the long-term damaging effects that we're reading about, if it's possible.
If it's possible.
Well, we don't know that, but they've certainly made great strides in a very short period of time. They weren't attempting to offset the devastation of football for the vast majority of the years that it's been played. They are now. They are just now doing that, and they've made huge strides. So if you're an advocate and you love the other aspects of football that help shape you in life and teach you life lessons that are valuable into the corporate world and to anything else that you do, and you want the sport saved because you're passionate about it, and I fall in that category, if that's the case, then you really hope that every week that goes by, and certainly year that gets started, as it's about to tomorrow, and already has to some degree, that they continue to go down the road they are currently, where the ability to treat concussion and to prevent future concussions and to certainly hold people out and go through various protocols that are going to protect them from concussive events, then that those advancements continue.
I think for the from a knowledge standpoint, the positive here is that it's becoming more transparent. It's
not the boogeyman anymore.
Well, we're going to know in 5 to 10 years where we stand because we're going to be educated enough as citizens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's all about the education. It's all about what do we know for certain?
Whether we're going to play, whether or not we're going to let our kids play, whether we feel comfortable with watching the sport altogether. I can say that one thought I have on it is if everybody knows the risk and people are still playing, I'm going to have an easier time.
Much easier time.
It's the late 90s and early 2000s that I feel,
well, those
really
guys were
queasy.
lied to.
That's the bull, what part of it.
Yeah. No, they were lied to by their employers.
Right.
And people who, in some cases, are doctors and who should know better.
You slap a disclaimer on that thing, I think a lot of people will feel better. But the question is,
Right. You don't feel bad for the NASCAR driver that dies.
Correct.
I mean, just say it. You don't. I mean, you feel bad for his family and those that are affected by the immediate
I don't want
loss.
it to happen.
No, nobody's rooting for it. But the guy that gets in a car that goes 200 miles per hour and he chooses to do so knowing the risks, okay, well, we're all informed here. Nobody forced him to do it. It's a shame when it happens, but you're okay. You can watch that and not feel guilty. That's the difference.
Well, and the other difference is, again, when can kids play? Can they play? Can kids play? Period.
Well, they're still figuring that part out with the brain developing all the way to the age of 25 in males.
That's a moral question because those kids aren't being, they don't necessarily always choose to be there, and they certainly can be restricted from playing the game and putting themselves in danger.
Yeah, by the way, Ed Cunningham is 6'3", 290 and played several years in the NFL. So this isn't some guy who's just like, from afar, who's never played the game and doesn't understand the value, what you get out of it. No, quite the opposite. Chef Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
The game is almost here, but you can't afford to go because ticket prices are through the roof. Don't worry, we got your back. Anytix.com offers you the lowest price tickets, guaranteed. Anytix.com doesn't mark up tickets. Anytix.com has zero. That's right, no buyer, seller, or service fees. For a small monthly fee of $9.99, you get access to all their wholesale tickets. Go to Anytix.com today. That's Anytix, T-I-X-X. Enter the coupon code ESPN Tally and get 20% off your subscription. Anytix.com, changing the way you buy tickets.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
It's the Labor Day sale at Ace. Now through Monday only, buy 2 gallons of our top paint brands, Valspar, Clark & Kensington, and Royal, and get the 3rd gallon free. And with the Ace Extra Mile Promise, if it ever takes more than 1 trip to complete your paint project, we'll bring you what you need and delivery's free. Don't miss the buy 2 get 1 free paint sale, only at Ace.
Limit 2 free gallons of equal or lesser value. Prices may vary. Delivery subject to availability. Visit acehardware.com for more details.
College football programs know the importance of recruiting. If they want to compete at the highest level, they need to bring on the best talent. People who have the skills and drive to be a success. The same is true in business. Recruiting is vital. And with ZipRecruiter, you'll have a smarter and simpler way to assemble your own winning team. With just 1 click, you can post your job to over 100 job boards. Then ZipRecruiter's matching technology identifies relevant talent fast. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within 24 hours. And your ZipRecruiter dashboard helps keep everything in one place. So it's easy to review and rank the candidates with the best experience. You'll be building a powerhouse program in no time. Choose the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter, official hiring partner of the Florida State Seminoles.
For your free trial, go to ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles. ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles. Once again, for a free trial, go to ZipRecruiter.com/GoNoles.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Ron is listening to the program. I want him to know that I stole some of his Pure Leaf tea right out of his fridge.
That's his?
Yeah. Took it right out of his fridge.
What the hell,
I'm
man?
drinking it right now. I was thirsty. If you're on the YouTube feed, Ron, I stole your Pure Leaf tea.
You gotta be kidding
It's
me.
delicious.
What the hell, man?
I'm thirsty, and it's tea. What the hell? I can get him some new ones tomorrow. There's new ones. Listen to me. I can get him some more tea tomorrow.
Why we don't have animal crackers in the building anymore.
Listen, if I got a big old jug of animal crackers, you can eat from it. It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't bother me.
I actually have one in the kitchen I've been meaning to bring. You had some on Friday.
I did.
At our green room party before the Libations
I
Friday
did.
Fest.
If I have a crate brought in of Pure Leaf tea, like 8 of these or 10 of these at a time, like you'd get at Costco or something, and you took one and didn't ask and didn't even report it, didn't even bother to tell me. I just found out on my own the next day when I went in to get myself a tea. I wouldn't be pissed in the slightest. So that's the way I view these things. It's tea.
I heard a what the bleep earlier today. Maybe that's what it was about.
Yeah, he thought he had a tea. But then you know what the best part about that in not telling him? I'm guessing that perhaps he thought, well, maybe I drank that tea. And he's just now driving around going, freaking Cameron drank my tea without asking. Just brazenly went in there and grabbed it. Yeah.
Well, you told the scores of people that listen to this program, and you copped to it. So
Uh-huh.
I applaud that you're courageous. You have integrity, sir.
It's just the way it works. Hey, this is Jimbo Fisher. Since the whole world is very, very worried about the status of Matthew Thomas, let's delve into this for a second, okay? I did a little bit yesterday, and I said something that rubbed a few people the wrong way. I don't care about that. That's going to happen on a daily basis if you give an opinion for a living, as I've stated before. We need to stop acting like Matthew Thomas's Dick Butkus. My man has played okay every now and again when he's had an opportunity, when he's not suspended forever and a day. I would like him to play. I'd rather him play than not play. You could certainly say, I think, that he is our best linebacker. And without him, Florida State is not as good as they would be with him.
So you're saying he's not worthy of the National Sports Center run that he's getting, that we've been running all day?
It's just crazy. I mean, I get the magnitude of the game, and so you're going to report any little thing right now. But this has created, in a weird way, this single issue. And there are two sides to it, and I actually understand both. It doesn't affect us in Sports Talk Radio as much as it does, say, a writer. But I will say it's created the friction that exists currently, that as I'm sitting from afar watching between Florida State University, the football program, the athletic department, the head coach, and the journalists that cover this team, anybody paying attention can see that they are not simpatico. There is a problem right now, and a lot of anger, I think, frankly, on both sides. And it kind of stems from this player, this issue. I'm not blaming him, per se, but it's something that started with this.
Yes, I
it
agree.
It did. It started with this.
This year, it started with this.
Oh, and in the past, it's been other things.
It's about the first 15 to 20 minutes of practice. And, at one point they had policies where you couldn't talk about somebody was or was not at practice. Some people took liberties with that. Then there was, I remember, even if dating back a few years ago now, on the eve of the national title, they were doing bowl practices here in Tallahassee before going out to Pasadena and doing practices out near L.A. And remember, they were talking about a special teams play, like a fake punt that we were running?
Yeah, not a good idea.
Okay, you got to have a sense about you. You got to have common freaking sense. We're not on the beat, but if I'm on the beat and I see they're running a trick play,
I'm not going to report what the trick play was.
You want me to take video of it and put it out there because it's in the open 20 minutes?
Right.
You got to have – there's a lot of childish behavior going on over there. Either way, but a lot of childish behavior going on.
It's petty, and but I think it's going on both ways. I really do. It's just silly, and I think now it's gotten to a place where they're dug in. Both sides are dug in with their heels here, and so it's just kind of amazing. Anyhow, this and it all stems from this year. This guy. Here's Andrea Edelson, ESPN's Andrea Edelson. You won't hear her question, but she's the one asking it, and this is Jimbo Fisher responding earlier this afternoon.
He did not return to practice yet, but thought he would have by now, which we thought he would have been there. But we'll see, and if he's ready to play, he'll play. As far as eligibility, he runs on his own, stays in conditioning from everything I hear. So as far as that, and he knows our scheme inside and out. They practice his first week, so he's been doing it for a long time.
All right, so he's talking about Matthew Thomas, and
he said the word eligibility.
Well, by now everybody could certainly glean that, but yes, he did. I'm not involved in this fight because it doesn't affect me. My ability to do this job is not affected by this. But here's what I will say about that. I really wish, and I think this is across the board something that athletic departments, or in this case just a football program and the people that work within it, would have in place. I think you need a guy as a liaison between the two sides, somebody who understands what the media needs and understands what the coach is trying to protect and what the rules are, more importantly, NCAA rules, etc. What you can and cannot say about a player who may have an academic issue, a medical issue. So you need somebody who's well-versed on both sides and get both sides, understand where both sides are coming from and why. And you need that, A, so that they can give advice to a coach who is at a loss what to say early in a process. So if you're waiting on a grade or you're waiting on the NCAA or you're waiting on something that has to do with academics that's out of your control, there's nothing more you can do at this point, and you don't really know, you don't have a definitive date as to when you're going to get an answer, one way or the other, good or bad. You don't need to, as a coach, go out and seek to kind of protect that player in the way that some coaches do. You also don't want to do anything detrimental to the player. So if you really feel like you're, caught between a rock and a hard place, you can say, there's an issue right now that's not allowing Matthew Thomas to play. Believe me, we want to back out there. We suspect he will be soon, but as of right now, we don't have what we need, and I'm not at liberty really to express anything else further. And I won't be talking about this every day, guys. So just so you know, I'll let you know when we know whether Matthew Thomas is going to be ready to play this game or is back practicing with us. But in the interim, he's not, and we're awaiting some information. When we get that, we'll let you guys know. We're done here. This is all gone at that point. There's nothing else. Now, on the other side, I wish that the media understood that if a coach wants to close practice, he can close practice, and you can think ill of it, and you can be angry about it, and you can say, really, I don't understand why they would do that. Why so secretive? Why are you so paranoid? You could say all those things and maybe even there's some real validity to some of your complaints. But practice is closed. It's closed. I think you should probably just adhere to that because long-term it's to everybody's benefit, including yours.
No, and clearly the whole parking lot thing. I'm not even doing the pointing of the fingers game. It's just here's what happened: people sitting outside in the parking lot talking about who went to practice, who didn't, who came out of practice limping. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those kinds of things this week. And clearly the retaliation from Florida State was, okay, fine, Jimbo's not going to be available, and the players aren't going to be available.
Yeah, but there was a mistake made there, too, and I don't know who's at fault, but we're going down a stupid path. It just doesn't make any sense.
It is stupid, and it's Alabama week. What the hell are we doing? You got to give the media something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Also, again, I'm not one of these guys that thinks that the media, should be adhered to at all times the way that they'd like to be. I mean, I get it. You have a job to do that doesn't involve pleasing the media. At the same time, you have to have a big picture understanding of the value of the media.
Yeah, the media's got to understand what's confidential, and you can use context. This is something you've often said, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to preach to the beat. It's been 5 years since I've been on the beat, really.
Well, and also those guys, no, we're not talking to anybody specific. It's just we're watching from afar what's going on, and it's fascinating, but kind of sad, and it's just there's enough blame to go around.
They got to be smart enough to be on the up and up. You can't have guys hiding in bushes or in the parking lot and counting.
But on the other side, if you don't allow access at all,
right.
What do you think's going to happen? People are going to hide in bushes because they've got deadlines and stories to write.
I'd say for a couple particular outlets, that's not the case. If you can source reports and talk about what happened in practice, what the hell do you need somebody actually physically in the parking lot for anyway?
Well, but if you
What's
need
the difference?
Yeah, but if you need player interviews and if you need coach, comments,
right?
Then
so don't go in the parking lot and spare yourself the player interviews and availabilities for the rest of the week. This is clearly what happened here.
Well, I also think though that a decision was made. Well, see, now we're doing it. Here's the deal. It's crappy. It really doesn't make a lot of sense that of Alabama week that Florida State has shut it down to this extent. It doesn't. My biggest thing, and I talk about this all the time, is I don't think it aids the football team or hurts them. Coaches are paranoid by nature. They really think that if Larry Smith writes an article describing the fact that player A may have been limping yesterday or not, that it's going to somehow affect the strategy of a football game or what Alabama's going to do. No.
Right.
No.
My whole thing is again, if you have people on the inside, for example, you talked about the scrimmage and the scuttlebutt about the scrimmage. Okay, that's great. You don't need to have somebody, hiding in the varsity club or the university center or the champions club, excuse me now, with binoculars to report it on the fly. You got sources or you don't. And if you either choose to report it, it's either important to you to give the context to the people or to hold it for later in case something comes up and you could say, well, here's what we knew back in August. You don't have to take the extra step to have somebody physically on the ground because now you're just goading Florida State to do something even crazier and you're costing your colleagues time. You know what I mean? Like for the people that were sitting there waiting for Jimbo last night that didn't do any of that stuff, they get canceled this week. There's no player availability. That's not fair to them. Maybe Jimbo should do something that Spurrier once did, which
was
one-by-one
interviews.
Correct.
Matthew Thomas, as it relates to his ability to take the field Saturday night and whether or not he will, the answer to that question you heard from Jimbo Fisher is they're awaiting word on his eligibility. That's all this is. This tells me it's an NCAA thing, and we're awaiting the NCAA's decision that he's done whatever he needed to do, whether that's correspondence courses or whatever it might be, and now Florida State's awaiting the NCAA's check mark. You may use, I was talking, you'll hear from Keith Jones tonight on the Front Row Knowles. But he and I were talking earlier today, and it reminded us both of Diego Romero, where the kid's done everything he can do, and now you're just kind of held hostage by the NCAA, which sucks. It sucks for the kid, sucks for the school. Yeah,
Diego Romero.
Yeah, you remember good old Diego Romero?
Good Lord.
Yeah, but that's what this kind of reeks of, is that now, okay, so you've done what you're supposed to do, and we'll just find out when we find out. Clearly, Jimbo's agitated because he was under the impression that Matthew Thomas would be back by now.
Well, yeah, and word on the street was practice was going to be closed all season long. That was the word, that it wasn't just Alabama week, that was going to be the process. But players and Coach Jimbo Fisher was going to be available twice a week.
Right.
So the stripping of those pool interviews for players and coach after Tuesday and Thursday is the punishment, quote unquote. It's a really ridiculous time. It's almost like following social media fights. You know, somebody tells you about a fight they got in on Facebook or Twitter, and you're like, really? Listen to yourself.
Listen to yourself, yes.
That's kind of what we just did. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm trying to shed a little light because we're not caught up in this. So shed a little
Thankfully,
light.
yes.
No, shed a little light. That's the beauty of this medium. We're lucky. But, yeah, shed a little light on why there seems to be friction going on there and why things have gotten so secretive. I can't completely answer why things have gotten so secretive, other than I thought basically Showtime was the reason a year ago, and so therefore we thought we would return to an older policy predating Showtime's access that would have allowed for the kind of access that they're no longer getting, currently.
Well, one would think, if you have the old process, right, which is first 15, 20 minutes, maybe some days we'll let you see some positional drills, wink, wink, nod, nod. You can kind of see what's going on. I feel good about things if I'm Jimbo Fisher, so take the extra 15 minutes. And then if somebody violates the policy, they're just not allowed to come back.
Hey, tell that person goodbye.
Tell that person goodbye.
Right.
And then make an example of that dude, and then everybody else is on the up and up, and everybody knows the score. And we're all settled here.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
You must learn.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
The undefeated team.
Oh,
we're the only one that takes the ball, go to goal like no one's ever seen.
You and the rest of Miami holding on to the past, my friend. But you know what? September the 10th, it's on. Tampa Bay at Miami.
Not a chance. You know what that first loss feels like every year because you've never gone undefeated.
Houston Oilers.
All right, let's go. Dry-aged ribeye steaks. What do you say?
I'm in. Let's bet.
It's on.
Is Bumpa's going to be open yet?
Shh, Jeff. They don't know about that one yet.
It's coming soon. All right, Bucks.
Let's go fish.
Good times. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a crystal ball winning catch.
He's looking, he lost it to the end zone. It's Benjamin! Touchdown! With 13 seconds left.
The 97.9 ESPN radio special is a must-have every Monday and Wednesday at the corner pocket. 10 mouth-watering wings, a fresh side of fries, and a chilled domestic pint of beer are just $9.79 all day long. Be sure and try the fish blend of sauces, a true wing eater's favorite, the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Home of Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the daily $7.99 lunch special.
97.9 ESPN Radio is proud to announce that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac High School Scholar Athlete of the Month is back. We'll announce the monthly winners beginning next Wednesday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and again during the Jeff Cameron Show from 3 to 6. Last year, 8 female and 8 male athletes won the monthly honors and were automatically qualified as a finalist for the Dale Earnhardt Jr. $2,500 year-end scholarship. Last year, Leon High's Anna K. Ford and Rickard's Taven Jackson took home the grand prizes. Since its inception 3 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac has given out over $20,000 in scholarship awards to high school athletes throughout the Big Bend. Beginning next week, you can check out all the Athlete of the Month winners by visiting our website, espntallahassee.com, and help support our friends at Dale Jr. Check them out on the corner of Capitol Circle Northeast and Miccosukee, or visit them online at Dale Earnhardt Jr. BuickGMCCadillac.com.
Seminole Headlines, presented by Capital City Bank. You're damn right. Catch Jeff Corey and Ira each Tuesday night from 5 to 7 p.m. right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Might I suggest the chicken taco salad from Bandito's Burritos, my friend?
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
We'll get to some probables in a bit, but you know what? Well, you know what? I'll save it because actually it fits in nicely with kind of a talking point and a recent, I guess, addition to the Jeff Cameron Show, one that we welcome with open arms. Tom, I think you know what I'm talking about, so go ahead and fire it up, and then I'll explain what I'm alluding to.
Ready for a cold one? Proof Brewing Company in Railroad Square Art Park presents What's on Tap. So, Jeff, what'll it be?
I'll tell you that in a moment. I do want to thank Proof Brewing Company for coming on board to sponsor What's on Tap. Good to have you on board, guys. Thanks so much. You came at a good time. It's going to be a busy, fun year, and we do love what's been built up over in that area with Proof and all the art and really kind of Gain Street coming alive. So a lot of fun, and it's a good time. If you haven't been by Proof yet, make it a habit, actually. Proof Brewing Company and For the Table Hospitality present the 5th Annual Florida Tap Invitational, September 29th and 30th, one of North Florida's largest 2-day beer festivals. That's a good thing. VIP and general admission tickets are available. They're online. FloridaTapInvitational.com. What's on tap for tonight is your last night without football, some form of football, for 4 months. 4 freaking months. That's right. This is it. This is the last one. No more lonely nights.
Right. Yeah, you get Thursday night football starting tomorrow. Monday night, Labor Day night, which is, of course, Tennessee and Georgia Tech. But then the following Thursday, you'll get college and pro henceforth. And then Monday Night Football from the pros. There's a doubleheader in 2 weeks. So weekday football is back. Saturday football is back and in full swing, of course, with us on Saturday. Then Sunday Night Football, you get a pair of games, West Virginia, Virginia Tech being the highlight of those games on Sunday night. Hell to the yes. Not hell to the no. Hell to the yes.
I just said the phrase, no more lonely nights. If you're my age, you immediately began to maybe hum a song by Sir Paul McCartney. Tom, it came out before you were born. I love when that happens purely by coincidence, purely by accident. There was a video for it in a song called No More Lonely Nights. It was off, it was off of a movie soundtrack. And anyhow, it came out in 1984. And I remember it vividly. I loved it. I own the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No More Lonely Nights is the song by Paul McCartney. And I couldn't believe it when I uttered it. I hadn't thought of that song since I was 13 years old. I literally haven't thought of it since that moment. and I just did.
Fair to answer the question, what's on tap with, you'll be listening to that song at some point in the very, very near future.
Probably right after the show. And it's if I remember correctly, it's probably not even a great song. I loved it when I was 13 or 12, whatever I was. And I just thought, man, I was going to make the joke. I was going to say, wow, how about that reference? And then I realized Tom won't know that reference. Not that you don't know things that happened before you were born, but it wasn't like a huge hit, so you wouldn't know it. It's not frequently played modern day, so you wouldn't have stumbled across it, I don't believe, which is just absurd. So anyhow, what does it mean tonight? Well, what's on tap for tonight would be, for me, a fun time. And if you're interested in golf, it is a chance for me to pimp the show I do for Sirius XM, 28 or 92, depending on if you have XM or Sirius. But the reason I bring it up is I have reads on that show that I do with Trey Jones, Beyond the Tips, and they send them to me from D.C., and the read for tonight is National Football Day. So they're celebrating their National Football Day and the stuff that they want you to listen to on their network. But also, I got my rundown for tonight. Harry Ellis, ladies and gentlemen. Harry Ellis going to be on the show tonight. The British amateur champion and Walker Cup participant, Harry Ellis, is our guest tonight. So how cool is that?
That is super cool, man.
Yeah.
And that's a big damn deal because, he's from out there and he wins his homelands tournament. So
that's right. Yeah.
The pressure is all the greater.
He's here at Florida State. And
right.
Yeah.
If you're an American going overseas and you take the British amateur, well, that's really, really cool. But there's not that extra weight of having to carry your own mantle for your country. So it's amazing. He's already handled that, and he's coming back here, and he's going to kick ass here. And you know what? He's going to go on the PGA Tour and kick ass because that's what happens with FSU golf these days.
And he's going to be on Beyond the Tips with me and Trey Jones tonight at 9 o'clock on Sirius XM 20892.
What's on tap for 97.9 ESPN Radio now in the near future, just a few minutes from now?
Yeah.
The Front Row, actually Front Row Knowles, I should say.
Good
as
show.
They've changed the namesake of the program.
Yeah, Jimbo on tonight, right?
Oh, yeah.
About 20 minutes?
Absolutely.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
Jimbo's being so cooperative these days with the press, so I figured he was locked into that interview.
In truth, Tim Linnefelt, the one, the only.
Not Jimbo Fisher.
No. And Coach Billy Sexton will be on the show tonight, too.
Coach Billy Sexton.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Coach Sexton. Yeah, I've met him, talked to him numerous times.
Seems like a really nice guy.
He is a really nice guy.
That was always the aura he gave off on the sidelines. He had the glasses on. It was like the just very a neighbor next door kind of look to him. He's the steadfast guy who'd let you borrow the hammer. You know?
Or an edger. Something even better than a hammer, an edger. Yeah, I think that's true.
And he'd come over and help you, and he'd bring beer.
I did some weed whacking the other day.
Did you?
I did some crazy weed whacking. The backyard was getting overrun with the weeds over by my grill.
Weed whacking. Did you have a
weed whacking
prescription for it?
Weed whacking. It's a whole big, machine. And I was working away, and then I edged. I got after it. Early evening.
You really do enjoy lawn maintenance.
I think so. I think I'm becoming an older guy.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Developing that late in life green thumb.
No. I can't plant a damn thing. Everything I do dies, so I don't try anymore. But I can kill stuff and knock things over, and I can do all of that. So if you're kind of impeding upon the land that I call mine, I will take you out.
Black thumb of death, then.
Yeah, it's probably right. Speaking of probably, let's cue it up, sir. Probables time.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Needed this. With that involved, too.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of day games today that I won't tell you about. Red Sox, Jays. We've got Rick Porcello, J.A. Happ, who's starting to feel a lot like Robbie Ray. Feels like every time I mention the Blue Jays are playing, J.A. Happ is pitching. That guy's probably logged 480 innings already, easily. Mets, Reds. Neither team is worth a damn. What a terrible matchup. Rafael Montero and Homer Bailey. Not moving the needle. Not moving the needle. Tonight in Tropicana Field, I think we're all sort of, without being an over-the-top cheeseball, Astros fans right about now, man. Good Lord. Rangers, Astros in Tropicana.
Curious the politics of that situation between the Astros and the Rangers.
Probably on the same page, though. The state of Texas is...
Well, I mean, the fact that Houston asked Texas to swap home series dates and Texas said no. That's why they're playing in Tampa, St. Pete. I mean, you would think the Rangers would say, sure, come on up to Arlington.
It is kind of a damn sorry thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, what are we doing here?
Little fights, maybe some fights in the
I'd
in the
throw
boxes.
Somebody. Come on, man.
What do we do? Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. Some of the... listen, it's not lost on any of you. I just talk sports for a living for the most part. I get it. some of the imagery. I can't flip on the TV right now because when I do that, if I just take a glimpse at the news, I get sad or angry. That's typically the range of emotion, sad or angry. Sad or very angry.
Just because it could happen, it could happen here. You know what I mean?
Well, that part of it, yeah, no, that's just, that's scary. That's a little different.
It's the devastating luck of the draw that comes with that. You know what I mean? Like, people, you can make the argument, people should have evacuated, should not have evacuated.
No, that's not what I was going to do.
Your home's gone. Everything. It's just gone.
The worst is when you see kids and old people, man.
Yeah.
Kids, old people, pets. Brutal. Can't really fend for themselves. It's tough. Rangers-Astros tonight. Andrew Kashner and Dallas Keuchel. We got Pirates-Cubs. Ivan Nova, Jose Quintana. I hope this series ends soon. We're getting our head kicked in every night. White Sox-Twins. Derek Holland and Jose Berrios. Rays-Royals. Jake Odorizzi. Jason Vargas. Giants-Padres. Ty Blatch. Travis Wood. Blatch, by the way, isn't very good. His last 3 starts, he's 0-3 with an 8.92. Thanks for the efforts there, Blatch. Roll his sorry ass back out there again tonight. Dodgers, D-backs. Ryu's going to pitch for the Dodgers, who's been very good lately. And imagine this, Robbie Ray is going to pitch for the D-backs. I can't make this stuff up. They're telling me he missed nearly a month due to a concussion. I don't believe them. That's a lie.
We haven't done probables as consistently in the last few weeks, and I think we now know why. Subconsciously, we just weren't comfortable.
We're going to miss out on Robbie Ray. Yeah, can't have all that. A's, Angels, Kendall Graveman goes for the Athletics, and Parker Bridwell goes for the Angels. When I say Graveman, I always think of, what was that crappy movie with Pauly Shore in it that had Encino Man?
Encino Man.
That's one of the worst films ever made.
We's in the Joes.
Oh, so bad. So bad. Anyhow, that's a look at those that shall reside on the bump.
Did you like In the Army now?
No. Pauly Shore's never been funny.
All right.
So there's that. But he is the son of Mitzi Shore, the famed owner of the comedy club out in L.A., and probably really doesn't have to work. So that would explain the years on MTV just making up a character. Which
you didn't like Biodome?
Oh, God, no.
Oh,
maybe even
man.
worse. Maybe even worse than Encino Man, and that's tough to do.
That had Kylie Minogue in it. That's what I'm talking about.
The singer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She was very popular for about an hour, right around the hour that film was made and that album, and that was, although in Australia, I think still very popular.
She's still very popular in my household.
Is she? I think she's like 80 pounds. I think she went through a tough stretch.
Oh,
there.
did she?
Needed to put some weight on.
I live in the 90s with
okay,
Kylie.
So yeah, you didn't see the tough stretch.
Yeah, I'm good.
You didn't see the tough times. Isn't that the worst, though? By the way, last night I was watching U.S. Open. I know you were, too. It was great, and I'll watch it again tonight. But it really upset me when they cut to Sean Connery. Did you see that?
Yes. Yes.
No.
We were sitting next to each other.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, don't do that. Don't do that. It was and it's not Sean's fault. It's none of these celebrities or singers or artists or whatever that are famous' fault. It's that they're etched in your mind at a certain age from a role that you think of them as, and then you don't see them, especially if they bow out of movie making or touring or whatever it is that they do. And then the next time you're confronted with them, 30 years have gone by, and you went, oh, good God, what happened to Sean Connery? Well, what happened, Jeff, is he started making movies in the 30s. That bastard's old.
Hopefully he's got a woman caretaker who slaps him around.
I'm sure.
That's what I root for.
He would also root for that. He would be fine with that. He'd say, all right, that's right. Hit me. I bet Sean's down with that.
I know what so?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you know what I'm referencing.
I know exactly what you're referencing, yes.
Maybe she hurts him a little bit.
There's a lot of ways we could go with that, and I don't even mean sexual, although that's one of the ways.
Sexual.
I would go a different way with that and reference every star pre-1980, every male star pre-1980, and I bet you they were all like, Sean's right. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Front Row Knowles up next. Stay tuned. Good stuff. The great Tim Linnefeld's going to join him.